It's a beautiful brand new day. A new week is upon us. A good morning to you, cherished viewers. You are welcome to the Koko Digest Morning Show. I am your host, Yaira Awuno. We're coming to you live from the studio of Clock TV. And you can also catch us on GoTV channel 184. And as always, if you're not in the comfort of your home, you can join us via social media on Facebook and on YouTube. Just search for Clock TV. Like, share, subscribe, and join in the live stream. Now, the conversations today, as always, here on the Koko Digest Morning Show are going to be very interesting, as on the lifestyle segment, we're going to be talking about, the problems and the hidden truths about handling or, managing a non-governmental organization. And on the main discussion, we're going to be having a part 2 of the labor law conversation, what every worker needs to know about the laws in our labor department from the Ministry of Labor and Employment. Then also business and sports will be bringing us sports highlights and business news as always. Now let's prepare to be motivated for today. As a new week has begun, we like to motivate ourselves and our viewers. So now let's take the motivational quote for today. Now, today's quote says, "What you get by achieving your goals is not as important as what you become by achieving said goals." So what you get by achieving your goals is not as important as what you become by achieving your goals. Now, this is by Zig Ziglar. Now, this quote is to remind us that goals aren't just about the final prize, the recognition, or the material success that we gain. The real reward is in the transformation that happens within us as we work towards these goals, the discipline we develop, the resilience that we build, and the lessons we learn, and the strength of character that we also form. Now, achieving a goal shapes us into becoming wiser, stronger, and more capable than we were at the beginning. In the end, who we become matters far more than what we get. Now, I hope that this quote has told us something as we've begun this week. Whatever goals we've set for ourselves is not just about achieving these goals, but also whatever we learn from the process it takes to achieve these goals is also very, very key. As we grow, we become wiser, we become more knowledgeable, we learn from our mistakes and know what to do when the time comes as well. Now, let's take our weather report, which is brought to us by the Ghana Meteorological Agency right after this break. You're welcome back to the Koko Digest Morning Show. And if you're just tuning in, it's time for the online and print review. But before that, let's take the weather report for today, which is brought to us by the Ghana Meteorological Agency. And this is a 24-hour impact-based forecast for Ghana. And in summary, it says here that predominantly misty or foggy weather conditions will form and reduce visibility over the hilly and forest areas as well as portions of the coastline this morning. However, bright and sunny weather are expected to continue afterwards from mid-morning into the afternoon hours. Few cases of localized thunderstorms or rain is likely to affect parts of southern Ghana from the late afternoon into the evening. Meanwhile, fairly dry and slightly hazy weather will dominate the northern sector of the country amidst hot temperatures during the afternoon. Now, it is also key to note that relatively cool night temperatures are expected over the upper regions. So, as I always say, let's get strapped with our umbrella. Let's take a sweater or a pullover because it seems in the morning it's going to be chilly, and then in the daytime towards the afternoon it's going to be quite, hot. So it's good to be prepared. And towards the evening there may be some rain, so let's also make sure we have our umbrellas and raincoats. And those driving, please extend a helping hand to some of the pedestrians as always. Now let's go into the online and print review. And I'd like to remind us that our WhatsApp number will be displayed onto our screens for us to send in our comments, and then also on the YouTube and Facebook live stream, you can also send your comments there, and I will do well to read them here. Now, my co-hosts joining me this morning are Clement Yabankwe and Peter Insia. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Ira.
How are we?
It's a fantastic Tuesday morning. We are up and grateful. Divine selection. I want to say a very good morning to our cherished viewers, and a special one to Prosper from Budumburam and Mr. Mweni. Thank you guys for always choosing the Koko Digest Morning Show. And I'm super excited this morning because we are gearing towards Christmas. That's the best part of the year for me.
Okay.
So my aunties and uncles, get ready. When you see hi, I just want you to factor me into your budget. I'm not coming to exchange pleasantries.
I see. So aunties and uncles, beware. Peter is coming for your rice. Yes. So Clement, what about you?
Yeah, as Peter said, we are so grateful for what the Lord is doing. But I want to tell Peter that when he see hi, it means you're also coming for him. So you should prepare as well.
Christmas rice, no? Right. So, my favorite part of this week is something we don't like to talk about.
Exactly.
But if you know, you know. Yes, let's go into our newspapers quickly, and then we go into the trends. So, what do you have for us on your digitalized newspapers?
Yeah, I have the graphic business. And on the front page, it's about a breakfast discussion that's organized by Graphic Business and Stanbic Bank. Okay. They are talking that there is a long-term development pathways for tomorrow. That is for Ghana. That's what they've discussed. We also have a story that talks about PwC post-2026 budget forum, of which we would give more insights on the business update segment. Ghana outshines peers, and also Fitch projects 5.9% growth for the country in 2025. So this is what is making waves actually on the graphic business. A special supplement series on 24-hour economy would also be out soon. But people need to get access to the graphic business to get the details of the story.
Okay. So what about you, Peter?
Okay, I also have with me the daily graphic. And on the front page, we have the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, and says, prioritize your health, exercise regularly. This is very important. This one goes to the men. And we also have graphic business, Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting, like Clement said. We also have media general dialogue. Experts share mixed views on lifestyle audit law. We also have attaining food security. Government ends seed import. Farmers to get local varieties only from 2026. And I think I find the MG dialogue, experts share mixed views on lifestyle audit law, quite interesting. And so the lifestyle audit is a tool to investigate whether an individual's declared income is consistent with their observable standard of living, asset and spending habits. This is just to help to do away with corruption, which of course we've all been fighting. It is not only in Ghana, the whole of Africa and other continents as well. So I think this is a very great conversation, a dialogue. So I think it's in the right direction. I think there should be laws to, bind that. So looking at your income and the lifestyle, we'll be able to determine as to whether there's some form of fraudulent activities you're having or acts of corruption. So especially for those in public institutions. So I think it's a very good call. And then we are hoping that this dialogue gets to the right place at the right time, and then good measures will be put in place.
Right. So then I have a question I would pose to you on behalf of our viewers, that does this also translate to the layman, maybe somebody with a family of 7, and their, as you said, their income and their lifestyle, having to feed, educate, clothe these children or, his family, and it's not tallying with his income? Is that something that would also be factored into that conversation? And then will there be laws to sort of help make it a balanced situation?
Okay, I think Peter wants to come in.
Yeah, so this lifestyle, it's about the people in government.
Okay, so it's not related to the citizens.
Exactly,
okay.
People in government. So in a way to fight corruption. So we all know the scandals we are dealing with currently. And so if you're able to put these laws in the right place, and then if you are caught and you're being punished, it will serve as a deterrent, and we'll be able to identify the loopholes and then cover them. So I think as time goes on, if there's the need to descend to the ordinary Ghanaian, then I think we'll look into that.
Right. So Clement wanted to add something.
Yes, I just wanted to add something. I think before we await the actual dialogue, I think it's basically about any appointee, any individual using your lifestyle as an audit. That should be the process. There's no need for us to go to the books to detect that you are taking money from somewhere, you are doing this, you are doing that. Your lifestyle alone should tell whether you are doing the right thing or wrong. So I think that is the way they want to take the financial institutions too. So I think it's a good call, but we'll follow the dialogue and bring viewers the update. But I think your lifestyle should speak, because Christians say that your lifestyle needs to portray Christ. That is why people are called Christians. Yeah. So your lifestyle needs to tell whether you are doing well or not.
But then, that being said, this goes to those who are also not, living in, those grandiose kinds of lifestyles where they are doing the things and the law will still come for you. So if you are involved in any corruption scandals, please advise yourself. Now, what is trending?
Yeah, so Yaira, this is what is trending. Yesterday, we happened to be at the opening ceremony of the African Association of Accountants General, the 3rd annual conference, and it happened in Ghana. Okay. It's comprised of 22 African countries, and it's about all the accountant generals. So they met yesterday at the Accra International Conference Center to have discussion, to have dialogue into how best public financial management would be strengthened and how best accountant would be used as a tool for development in the various countries they find themselves. So they came together to share ideas, and it started yesterday. It's going to continue today, tomorrow, and it will end, God willing, on Thursday, where participants will now experience the rich culture of Ghana. So they will go around the country to know all about. So this African Association of Accountants General is basically, they have two main things they stand for. In terms of our mission, they said building trust in public financial management by creating and strengthening continental systems, and also integrate and sustainable development of Africa. And their vision is about accountable, integrity, and prosperous Africa. So that is what African Association of Accountants General stand for. And yesterday, Yaira, in their dialogue, something miraculous happened, and I really found it very, very, very interesting. That is one. We had a speaker who is Progress Nicole from the UN and UNDOC, actually. She was talking about PFM. And Rashid said that PFM is the nervous system of government. And when I heard this word from her, I wanted to understand, how can PFM, that is public financial management, be the nervous system of government? And she explained by saying that when you talk about PFM being the nervous system of government, it means that if accountant generals, if people who are supposed to manage our funds, our financial institutions very well, are not doing it well, government collapses. Government ceases to function. That is when we realize there's a lot of debt on the country. People are fighting for the small thing. Economics will tell you that resources are scarce and our wants and needs are unlimited, or we can't meet them. So accountants are being admonished during the conference that they should be able to manage the funds or the finances of the government very well. And let me equally quote the CEO of Accountant General, that is Triple AG, and he said something. He said accountability is not a burden, but it is a catalyst for economic growth. That is what the CEO said. So he was admonishing the rest of the Accountant General that they should know that when you talk about accountability, it's not a burden at all, but it's just a catalyst for economic growth as a nation. And lastly, before I know Peter would come in, is the fact that the president of the Republic was there yesterday. Yesterday, he was supposed to be at AU Summit, but he equally decided to attend to that program. And what the keynote speakers were all talking about is the fact that for a president to leave an AU Summit to attend to a function like it means that he has given his political will to the Accountant General, the people who are managing our public funds, to be able to do whatever they need to do. And he said something peculiar, of which I think that it needs to pay attention to. He said that he doesn't understand why every institution has internal auditors. Every institution in this country, every business have internal auditors. But these internal auditors, whenever they are auditors, the external auditors comes to audit, there are a lot of irregularities reported in their accounts. So the question is, what is happening in the various departments, internal audit department of various institutions? So he said that very department needs to be strengthened very well. And I think that is the way to go. And finally, before, as I said, Peter comes was the fact that Deputy Finance Minister was there. And he said something that whenever he meets his fellow ministers, everybody says that, hey, I don't want to be a scapegoat for president's scandal issue, because the president said the first minister to bring scandal will be nailed on the cross. So nobody wants to be a scapegoat for that. So it was really a nice dialogue yesterday.
Well, insightful. So Peter, you wanted to add something?
Yes, he has said, yes, but I want to link it to, you see, here in Ghana, let me use here in Ghana. You know, apart from Parliament, where we know that laws are being made and all that, we also have this peculiar one where marital issues are being solved. That is the salon. When you go to the salon, that's where marital issues are being solved. People go there to pour their heart, tell people about what they are going through in marriages and all that. Yes, that is just, you know, how should I even put it? So linking it to what is happening, what happened yesterday, it's like the Triple AG it's a platform that gives opportunity to other African countries to come together, learn and unlearn, learn from one country what they are doing right, what is helping in their public financial management. And so basically that is what this organization seeks to put out there. It creates the platform for them to come together. And so, like he rightly said, we also had the Gamanche. He also came there to, you know, grace the occasion, and many other dignitaries. We also had the popular Professor L.O. The name I usually
Lumumba, yes.
Lumumba,
yes, exactly.
Is it Patrice Lumumba?
Yes. He was there to also grace the show. And then, as usual, you know, when you hear of him, he talks about the colonial era and all that. He made some emphatic statement that we are all slaves to currencies we don't have control over. And then as Africans, we've refused to come together, integrate. And so there's a whole lot we need to tackle. And I mean, it was a very, you know, great program with a whole lot of people pouring out ideas and many other things. And yeah, so like Clement rightly said, we are looking forward for, you know, other conversations today. The program continues today with some people coming to share with us what they think and all of that. And so we are hoping that this one brings together the kind of unity we are looking for, the kind of, public financial management we are looking for. And, we can also talk about this without talking about the benefits economically that will be deriving from this, occasion here in Ghana.
Right.
So because of time, I wouldn't want to go there. So Thursday, we would have more time to dive deeper into all that transpired there.
Right. So we have excerpts of the program yesterday. So let's take a look.
Accountant General's Department. We have struggled with this for some years, and I think that the time has come when we take bold action about decentralizing the Accountant General's departments. The Accountant General in Ghana manages the payroll of a nurse in my hometown in Bole. If she reports to work, she doesn't report to work. If she deserts her position, her salary continues to go into her account, because by the time somebody writes a letter to the region sends it to the ministry sends it to the Accountant General, some 3, 4, 5, 6 months have passed. And then every year, the Auditor General will flag it and say somebody continued to receive a salary even after they had deserted their post. There's a case of the person who died. I'm sure you heard it in the last Auditor General's report. And the officials of the entity attended his funeral. And yet, after the man died, they attended his funeral. For 36 months, his salary was credited to his account. I mean, that is extreme anyway, but it's an example of what can happen, if we don't decentralize and strengthen the process. And so teachers work in the districts, nurses work in the districts, and they form the bulk of our payroll. I don't see why we can't have district treasuries where their payments are made from, so that if they are not at post, it's easier to be able to determine that. I know that you have this system of validation, and so every month they have to sign to make sure that people are at post. But who really goes around and goes to every single school in my district to count which teacher is there and which teacher is not there? They just validate automatically. And that's how come sometimes we have ghosts, on the payroll. However you exercise them, they resurrect. And so that's something that we need to look at. We also are amending the Public Procurement Act in order to reduce the amount of sole sourcing that is done. Procurement is one of the biggest sources of leakages in public financial management. Inflated prices, the private sector goes and procures something, and government goes and procures the same thing at 10 times the price. And so tightening public procurement is essential for public financial management. Aside from that, we're introducing a value for money audit. And so Parliament is going to pass a VFM bill so that any procurement that is above a certain amount must go for value for money audits before expenditure can take place.
This year's theme, Africa for Tomorrow, positioning public financial management for economic prosperity, is both timely and forward-looking. It challenges us to address today's reality whilst preparing for opportunities of tomorrow. By embracing innovation, artificial intelligence, digitalization, and strong fiscal governance, we can build a foundation for sustainable economic transformation across Africa. Colleagues, the call for robust financial management reflects the heightened expectations for transparency, accountability, and effective resource mobilization. As leaders in public finance, we must demonstrate exemplary stewardship and ensure that systems are in place to drive economic prosperity for all citizens.
So we heard from our President of the Republic of Ghana and the Controller and the Accountant General of Ghana as well. Now, as my colleague said, it has been a very inspiring conversation, and I hope that today too some of you will be able to tune in and join the live streams to get the full coverage of the conversation, learn one or two things about, finance, management, and the way forward for our African nations. Now, there seems to be, is there another trending story before we go into the online?
Yeah, there's trending. I think Peter touched on it on the graphic news.
Okay.
The fact that the Minister of Agri said they are going to do locally produce seeds for our farmers. He made a statement that was yesterday during the government accountability series. And he said this is what they are going to do. One is that they are in partnership with Korea to get access to rice seeds.
Okay.
And they're also in partnership with Japan to get the seed of vegetables.
Okay.
So if you're able to get all these seeds, then we are going to do it in Ghana. And there's no way moving forward we import seedlings into the country.
Okay, so are these seeds, organic or they are genetically modified?
We are yet to find out if they are. Yes, we are yet to find out. Okay,
so let's go into the online story, then we move to the next segment. Now, it says here, High Court orders rerun of Bandai parliamentary election. Now, pardon my pronunciations. Yes, so Tamale High Court has ruled that the Bandai parliamentary elections must be conducted again, and the rerun should take place within 30 days, which started yesterday, Monday, November 24. Now, the ruling High Court judge, His Lordship Emmanuel Brew-Plange, came about because the ruling by High Court Judge His Lordship Emmanuel Brew-Plange came about because the voting and collation process had irregularities that affected the credibility of the results. Now, the petition claimed that problems during voting and collation compromised fairness, trustworthiness, and the final outcome. So this is what's happening at the moment, and I think I don't know if we have the video of the current parliamentary candidate saying something about, standing his ground, talking about the fact that he still remains the MP for the constituency. But before we get into the videos, what are your takes on this issue? Or if you can give us some background.
I think I'll let Peter start with the background.
Yes, so like you said, it's necessary we go through the background to enhance our understanding. So the election, December 2024 results, the MPP candidates, pardon me for the pronunciation, Nyandam, he had 27,947 votes, which represent 53.47%. And the NDC's candidate also had 24,213 votes, representing 46.33%. That's a margin of 3,734 votes. Now, the allegation is mismatched voter verification versus votes cast. And yes, so that is basically the figures out of the results. Yes. So the MPP had 27,947 votes, which represent 53.47%, and the NDC had 24,213 votes, which represent 46.33%. Then the margin was 3,734 votes. Yes, so now the misunderstanding is that the NDC's candidate has challenged the results in court, saying that there were irregularities in 41 out of 152 polling stations. Yes, and then the court's decision, Tamale High Court, like you said, Judge Emmanuel Brew has called for a rerun within 30 days.
Well, why has it taken this long? Election was last year. It's been almost a year now. Is it because of the bureaucratic processes? So,
they say we should trust the justice process in Ghana. And we all know how the justice process in Ghana sometimes it takes time. But notwithstanding, we say the court has done well, though it has kept long, but the final decision has been made. So we are yet to see whether the NPP would either obey what the court has said, or they are going to have another filing. And report indicates that they have already made a filing to still the execution of this very act. And also they are also at the High Court to also make another case. Yesterday in the news, the Director of Elections for New Patriotic Party, his concern is the fact that a petitioner came to court with 41 polling stations, saying that there are irregularities in that 41 polling stations. So why would you, the judge, now call the entire 152 polling station result as not valid? Let me say not valid. You've nullified everything. So his point is, if you want to nullify, then you should nullify the 41 polling stations,
or
not
put it back to be investigated.
Exactly, not the other rest of 111 polling stations. So that is the case that the director of election for New Patriotic Party is making in this case. But as we said, we are yet to know. We are not in the wisdom of the judge to know the reason why he decided to nullify the entire process and not just the 41 as it was recorded. What was the issue surrounding this election? Though Peter gave the background, and the issue is all about irregularities in some of the processes. And the parliamentary candidate for NDC, that is Daniel Wapla, cited certain irregularities, especially in what we call the Form 8A, which talks about the recording of results after election, or what we call the pink sheet. So that was one where his irregularities was centered on, and to the fact that he also quoted what we call the CI 127, that is 2021 election regulation 39 and 43. And regulation 39 and 43, 39 talks about the counting process at the polling station after election. He said that there were irregularities in the counting process. He also cited the regulation 43, of which regulation 43 talks about the counting process at the collation centers. And per the court, what is happening, he cited that in the regulation 43, the collation center was being relocated. Assuming the collation center is supposed to be at the Accra Conference Center, it was relocated somewhere like Parliament without his notice, without the consent of the parliamentary candidates. So that was his thing he pulled out there. So looking at all these, the judge made a decision that this or that is the way to go. But as you said, we are yet to hear from the Electoral Commission because they are supposed to pick it up. Whether there's going to be a rerun or there's not going to be a rerun, they are supposed to pick it up. But who is Matthew Nyindam that we are talking about? He's not new in Parliament. He was the first New Patriotic Party Member of Parliament for Pandai constituency in the year 2012. He won the seat. NDC has reigned in that seat from 1992, 1993, 1996 till 2012 that he came to win that seat. He maintained the seat in 2016. So he has been in Parliament for 8 good years, two consecutive times. And the 2024 was his 3rd term in Parliament. He lost the seat in 2020 to Daniel, Honorable Daniel. So the person who is contesting with him in court case is a former Member of Parliament for that very constituency. So we are just hoping to see the outcome of what is really going to happen. But around the most worrying incidents is, I will say, that the ordinary Ghanaian, the ordinary citizens of our Pandai constituency, they would now be put into a situation where what happens to people who have traveled? What happens to people who are not even there? So indirectly, these are the things that I think the Electoral Commission or whoever is supposed to take a very good note at. Now we are going to take a look at developmental projects in that very constituency. We are going to mark it. But this is the time we know whenever there is possible by-election, government here, government there tries to do a development, very quick development. And at the end of the day, sustainability of this thing is also a key thing that needs to be communicated. Even if you are using one city, even if you are spending one city on this very election in terms of development, let the value for the one city be noted. Yesterday, I let me just quote what happened in the Triple AG conference. Is that citizens of Africa or Africans are now moving from the mindset of how much did you spend? They are not asking government how much did you spend. No. Now citizens are asking government that what did you use the money for? That is the question now we are asking. Because those days, if you plan to spend 20 Ghana cedis, and now we ask you how much did you spend? Oh, I spent 30 cedis. Why? Because when I went to the market, the price has increased to 30 cedis. We don't end up asking you any other question. But now, how much did you spend? Or what that money was used for is what we are asking. So if government or whoever is going to spend money on this by-election, let us know the value for that money that you are spending by election. If it is the political party's money, fine. But if it is ordinary Ghanaian money, if it's taxpayers' money, then all these incidents need to be looked at. Yeah, there's another concern in this very incident. I think that if our various institutions are very up and doing, we wouldn't have gotten to a point like this. We believe that there are systems, there are processes set in for our electoral processes. We know that from A you go to B. So if at the point of A, someone has issues with it, why don't you resolve the issue before you go to B? But why do you proceed from the A and go to the B and now go to the C, and now the incident is at court and ordinary Ghanaian beg to suffer? Why not those institutions? Why not those people who are responsible for that election? Because sometimes these are the issues that we end up not talking about. What is the cause of these very incidents? Was it the cause of the electoral officers? Was it the cause of the polling agent? Was it the cause of the parliamentary candidate? Is it a political party? Let's hold all these kind of stakeholders accountable. Before we come talk about the ordinary Ghanaian going to queue again to cast the vote. No. We should move from a point where every incident happened, then we put it to ordinary Ghanaian. You are the one to suffer. No. Let's hold the various institutions accountable.
All right. So I think before we take a look at the videos, I would want to also ask, or, maybe you guys can help me with this. Juxtaposing this Pandai constituency with the Ablekuma North and the others where there seem to have been a lot of strife, how different and how similar are these two cases?
Okay, so with the two, I would say that looking at the Ablekuma and then this one, like we've been having by-elections, but this one is quite different. So talking about the Akwatia by-elections, you can add it. It came as a result of one death, and one as a result of misunderstanding. And one was known from the scratch. But with this Pandai one, in as much as we've not heard from the EC, during the declaration of the results, we didn't hear anything of that.
Yes.
So it was after the declaration, that is 11 months after, that's where we've come to realize that there has been irregularities and all that. So one, that is basically the difference. And then I would also want to pick it from this angle. People are asking that can EC unilaterally decide not to, abide by what the lawyer, the judge said, like to conduct the election in 30 days. And even if they are going to conduct it within 30 days, is it feasible? Also, the funding. Who is going to fund that election? Definitely government. And it boils down to the ordinary
taxpayers' money.
Taxpayers' money. And so the fact is that as we speak, we are heading towards Christmas and a whole lot is happening. Sometimes we know when you look at history, by-elections in this country, it brings some form of chaos. But then thanks be to, this current administration, the IGP, with the last two that we had, we didn't see those kind of things. But then we can't risk it. So the questions people are asking is that can EC decide to extend the time to maybe next year? With that, EC cannot unilaterally do that. But rather, the EC can petition the court, citing, maybe logistics problems and all of that. And then it can be moved to maybe next year or something. Right. But in terms of the funding, it's definitely
going to be taxpayers' money. Right. Let's take a look at some of the excerpts of the issue. I think there are responses from the sitting MP, and then also there is a response from the lawyer for the NDC as well.
We believe that the petition was frivolous, but the court has decided otherwise. So we respect the decision of the court, but we strongly disagree with the judgment. And we have already shown our aggrievement by filing a competent notice of appeal, and we've added a motion for stay of execution. As a lawyer, if you are picked certain information that judgment will be compromised, you prepare. So you come for the judgment with a notice of appeal in your pocket. And that was exactly the decision that is affirmed, because we knew that was what was going to happen. So it's not even surprising at all. And so the only fight left for us is to follow the due process of the law. and that is by filing a notice of appeal. This is my notice of appeal dated 24th November 2025 at 10:04. The motion for stay of execution is dated 10:13. Now, the petitioner has been served with the process and he decided to throw it away. But that's proper service. In law, if they serve you a process and you throw it away, the bailiff will only go and prove service by saying that you were served but you threw the process away. And that's even contempt of court, but that's for another day. But all I want to say is that we have accepted the decision, we respect it, but we disagree. And that is why we are. Well, let me in the first place thank my supporters, thank the good people of Bandai. And let me put it on record that I'm still their MP. Yes. I want to put it on record that I'm still their MP. Although, like the lawyer said, we were in court. And before we came to court, I can say for sure that for about a week, we knew that things were not going to be right. Our opponents were jubilating. They were saying all manner of things in Pandai. And they were too sure that this is the judgment they were going to get. But as law-abiding citizens, I want to put on record that, yes, we respect what the judge has said. We vehemently disagree with him. I know that I won the election with a difference of 3,734. That is a clear victory. And if you look at the pink sheets, it's on record that they've admitted that every single pink sheet was given to all the political parties. I have my 152 pink sheets. They have their 152 pink sheets. And if you put the results together, we have won the elections. For some reasons, powers that may be, they decided to come to court and knowing very well that maybe they'll be able to use the state's powers to overturn certain things. But I think that we are in a country that is governed by laws. And that is why the courts are arranged from a lower level to a higher level. So that when a ruling is...
Right, so we heard from the stakeholders involved in this situation and we're hoping to get more insights into this. Now, Clement wanted to answer my question after Peter. So in about 2 seconds, if you can do that quickly so we wrap up for the next segment.
Courts nullifying elections, it has happened before. We had the incident of Assam North 2020, but that was not as a result of some police stations having irregularities, but as a result of the member of parliament having dual citizenship. We also have the incident of Okaikwe Central and Ablekuma North, as we talked about, but that one, the election or the process was not the entire election being nullified, but some polling station was actually nullified as a result of. But this is the first time of we having a concern has been raised about few police stations, but the entire process being nullified. This is the first time of we having it on record. Yara, once again, before I think we are almost closing, let me use the opportunity to wish one or two people a glorious birthday. Before I think to my beloved son. Nana Kojo Nkatia, glorious birthday to you. May the God of the Lord bless you so much and keep you safe and sound. To Doris, Relatives Workers Church says, God bless you so much. And to Prophet Alfred Nelson, who is in Germany, God bless you so much. And lastly, to Priscilla Rioko, God bless you so much. And Asa says, we love you.
Right. Thank you so much. Now, this brings us to the end of the online and print review. I'm sure a lot of our viewers are a little disappointed as it was not extended, but don't worry, we'll have more extended versions so you can call and join in the conversation as always. Now, up next is a lifestyle segment, and they're going to be talking about the challenges of running a non-governmental organization. So do stay tuned for that.
Welcome back to the Koko Digest Morning Show here on Clock TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. We have more, coming your way today on the show. And as part of that, today on the lifestyle segment, we are trying to understand, the realities when it comes to non-governmental organizations. We know they are good people. They go out of their way to just put smiles on the faces of people. But what really goes behind the scene, that is what we are going to be uncovering today on the show. We are streaming live on Facebook and also YouTube as well, so you can engage us with your thoughts and we'll gladly respond to that. We have with us in the studio today an amazing personality. I mean, she's been doing this for God knows how many years. She'll tell us right into that. And she's in the person of Chelsea Nyantechi, and she runs an NGO. She'll talk about it pretty soon, but let's get to know who Chelsea is. Hello, ma.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And
how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for gracing our show today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I think I like your accent.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about the realities of running an NGO.
Yes.
I don't want to restrict it to just Ghana, but just running an NGO.
In general.
When we talk about NGOs, we know a lot of people are very generous. They go out of their way to give back to the society and all that. But behind the scenes, what really happens?
Okay. Thank you for the question. And what's interesting, it's not really a question that people typically ask. When people think of NGOs, it's more or less, what can you do for me?
Yeah.
And so normally what tends to happen is persons that run NGOs normally have their own sort of profession. So I'm a clinical pharmacist by profession. I practice in the UK.
Okay.
And when it comes to hidden realities, typically we're looking at, maybe there's lack of funding. That's maybe the issue that charities face. But I know you said, so in general, so most of the charities that we have worked with, and even ourselves, typically when you're starting, you're mostly self-funding. So like 90% of it is self-funding. So it's your own money that's pretty much going to it. Contrary to popular belief, I think people tend to think if you have an NGO, you probably have a lot of money and you want to give some away. But that's not really how it is. It's sort of like asking for funding or like asking for grants and begging pretty much. Don't want to say the word begging, but that is sort of some of the hidden realities. I know you said to generalize it.
Yeah. But in your own way or words, what is that one thing that you think or feel Ghanaians should really understand when it comes to running an NGO?
Okay, amazing question again. I was going to think before you ask the question, I was going to narrow it down to Ghana because at the end of the day, although we're registered in the UK and in Ghana, we operate in Ghana. So what we have found, so I'm going to speak on a disability space because my charity, which is Same Opportunities for All, we advocate for persons with disability. What we have found is, even though that there's a work on what a lot of NGOs are doing in terms of sensitization, letting people know about disability, advocating and educating, the main hidden reality we've noticed in Ghana through research is weak enforcement and lack of accessibility. That unfortunately is not a work that NGOs can do. It boils down to the government and the governmental agency. So that is one of the hidden realities, or maybe two actually, that is very vital, which the people of Ghana need to know about. That is it's sort of like the entryway. So we can do all the outside work, but if there's weak enforcement and lack of accessibility, it pretty much boils down to like nothing really. We're trying, but if we haven't got the tools to take it from A to B, we sort of are in the same place. Really. So that's like a main hidden reality that I think is worth talking about and expanding.
Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned disability and also government. So let me just ask this question. You know, recently the president of Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama, announced free tertiary education for persons with disability. What's your view on that?
I mean, it's an amazing initiative. I mean, His Excellency, apart from this, there's other like initiatives which is he's announced, that shows that he really cares about the plight of persons with disabilities. I'll shorten it to PWD because it's a mouthful when I say the full the full sentence. So as great as that sounds, and we're here for it, you sort of have to remember that when you look at a child, for example, for a child to be able to walk, they have to crawl first. before you can get to tertiary school, you have to obviously go through nursery, then primary school, then secondary school. For persons with disabilities, in Ghana, we practice this in terms of education. It's more integrated. So you find that PWDs and non-PWDs typically go to the same school. However, when there's lack of accessibility, so for example, if a blind student goes to a school where there's no braille writing, if a person that uses a wheelchair or crutches has no ramp, if there isn't any teacher that can sign, there's no sign language person on site, you would expect that student to go to school and learn something, but if it's not accessible for them, they're going to not be able to. So if you're saying tertiary is free and all of this accessibility isn't in primary school and secondary school, who is going to benefit from the tertiary school? It's great on paper, and that's one thing that we're great in like generally in the disability field. Like the laws, Disability Act is almost 20 years. They sound amazing on paper, but then again, we can force the lack of accessibility. So it's great. Like, I'm not saying like it's amazing for him because it reduces the financial burdens of PWDs. But for us to get there, surely there's other work we need to do before we can access it fully, tertiary.
Still staying on the same tangent, I also want to know the workforce. We know that a 5% quota has been, assigned to persons with disabilities. And so for every organization or institution, 5% of the workforce should be persons with disabilities. Do you think Ghana is practicing that? We'll come to your NGO, but I want to explore.
I love these questions. Thank you for asking them. Again, it's also an amazing initiative. If you look in the Disability Act, I think it probably is written there, something to do with like 5%, but I think what His Excellency said is that he's going to enforce it, and that's great. However, this takes me back again to the same thing of lack of accessibility and enforcement. I want to paint a picture for you, so just, come with me. So let's give an example of like two countries, country A and country B. We'll make country B Ghana because this is what, we're talking about, and this is what we've done our research. Let's say country A does a disability inclusion education. Country B has the same form of education. And what that means is like they're talking about inclusion. So this education is done in schools, on the media, pretty much in the workplaces. And when we do have those education done, and for example, we say that, okay, we're teaching you guys what to do in terms of how to be inclusive when it comes to disability. And then we're going to come back in a year's time to do an audit. So let's say the same education is taught in country A and country B, so country B being Ghana. And you come back in a year's time and you realize that there's been some improvement, but pretty much not a mild improvement. So country A, for example, you go then you see that persons with disabilities are thriving. They're in leadership roles. They're doing big things pretty much. Then you compare that to Ghana. Even though those countries both had the same training, you realize that Ghana, yes, we might have moved 1 or 2 steps forward, but it's still the same. And why is this? It could be because if you're teaching me something, right, you want me to apply it, and there aren't the tools for me to apply it, what's that going to do if you think about it? So yes, the initiative again is great, 5% quota for persons with disability to ensure that every workplace does that. But if in this workplace, again, there isn't a lift, there isn't a ramp, there isn't an accessible toilet. If I'm coming to work every day, I'm having to depend on someone to carry me to my office, carry me to my chair, how is that going to push you to want to give your all? So as great as it all sounds, it boils back to that foundation of, okay, where is that enforcement? Where is that accessibility? How are you going to help push me to achieve, my highest aim? Because you wanted to help me, but you can't just do 50%. We have to go
100%. Yes. So let's go back to the NGO.
Yes.
Among the various groups of people we have children, we have the aged. You chose to support persons living with disability, and I just want to understand the emotional strain it comes with you being a woman, supporting the vulnerable group. How do you handle, how do you cope the emotional strain that comes with it?
So, so far it's found by myself and another co-founder. So we both have personal stories of disability. So when my mom had me, there was some complication. The doctors were like, she's never going to be able to walk. But by the grace of God, and also the fact that we had some privilege to be able to, my mom was able to take me to get physio. I'm here and able to, walk contrary to what the doctor said was going to happen. My co-founder as well also has a personal story in disability, and she lives with disability. So what it is we have that empathy because we have personally experienced it, and we know how it feels like. Yes, it can be very draining, especially when you're doing this in a country that lacks the infrastructure, and when you've also lived in a country that you see the difference there, the difference are very stark, and you know that it can be possible. We can make that change. It'll start from somewhere, but it can definitely be done. So to answer your question, yes, it can be draining, but so I'm Christian by faith. So that helps me. That keeps me grounded. That reminds me that it's for it's much of a bigger purpose. And also I'm reminded, I can give you so in the Bible, sorry, I'm taking us to church today. I'm taking us to church today. So in the Bible, I'm not sure if I don't know if you're a Christian or not, but
I'm a Christian.
You're Christian, okay. So there was in the story where Jesus was preaching to the multitude, as he always does. And there were a group of friends that had a particular friend that had a disability. And they knew that if they took him to Jesus, he would be healed or he would be helped in whichever way. However, there was a blockade. There were so many people, so they couldn't get to the room in which Jesus was. They didn't give up. They tried to fight. They walked to where the building in which Jesus was. They took off the roof and they lowered that friend in it. So what that teaches is that, yes, you're definitely going to have barriers. And another thing to realize is that we should be our brother's keepers. I think sometimes, because if we don't have any personal story or history in terms of disability, we think that it's not really my concern. But in Ghana, the way our infrastructure is set up, for example, in healthcare and like on the roads, in Ghana, you could actually be one accident away from a disability. This is not to scare people, but to actually make you realize that this is actually a stark situation that we should all be a part of, even if you have a disability or not.
So what kind of support is so far given to people living with disability? And we'll also look at the support you want from the public.
Yeah, that would be great. So currently, we were set up in 2020. But COVID happened, so we all had to be locked down. So our first initiative was in 2022. We went to Namalogo, which is in a rural village in Upper East Region, Bolgatanga. And we have 2 kids that they are beneficiaries of so far. So one of them has cerebral palsy called Ishmael. He's a smart boy, very smart. And then Marcus has a congenital deformity of the arm. So what we do is we support them. So in terms of like education, in terms of food, in terms of healthcare. We recently, because Ishmael was having a difficulty in mobility, so we recently got him some braces that would help him, All of these things, they make a difference in your life. You might think it's just a drop in the ocean, but to that person, it does, it does more. We also have partnered with a couple of charities. So there's one called Hope Setters in Tema. It's a private institution, but it's for kids with autism and special educational needs. So we're helping them build a workshop, a sensory space, and an IT room. We've officially launched the workshop, and it's amazing to see them, like they do carpentry, they do beading, they do sewing. Also, in addition to that, so at the end of the day, in Ghana, we're good with charity and donation, but we also think, because as I mentioned before, the issue being lack of accessibility and enforcement, we don't just do the charity aspect. So recently we published a report, and that report was to highlight the issues when it comes to disability. So in addition to charity work and donation, we also try to, advocate, to educate, to sort of sensitize the public as to the issues when it comes to issues of what PWDs are facing. This is actually even an example of doing something like that, to educate. So this is pretty much what we're doing.
You do.
Yes.
And so how do you get your funding, or how do you want the public to support the NGO?
I mean, so many ways. I know I took us to church. I'm going to also take us to science a bit. Isaac Newton's first law of motion states that an object is going to be at rest until you apply external force to it. Currently, like I mentioned, the issue being the lack of accessibility and enforcement, it's not something NGOs can do. We can try and educate the public. A lot of charities have done amazing work, like the GFD Inclusion Ghana. They have done a lot on education. I mean, we did in our recently published reports, and we also did an article on the Business Financial Times where we did a landscape of the journey of disability from whenever till now, and it's been marked improvement. However, we've noticed that even though we do all that work, it would be great for like the public, because if it's something that I realized that if the public is talking more about something, the government would be forced to listen to it. And like I said, we need like the governmental agencies, the district assemblies, municipalities, to actually understand how important it is for them to enforce their own laws that they created.
Yeah.
So for example, you're saying that there should be accessibility. Okay, you sometimes go to public buildings, there isn't accessibility.
Yeah.
This is your own law. So again, that is one support that we'd obviously like in terms of being your brother's keeper and asking, okay, I'm going to buy ice cream somewhere, but you don't have a ramp. So if a person with a disability comes in, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Going to schools and saying that, I'm not sure if you know, but in the Disability Act, it's a crime. You can be persecuted if you don't take your child to school. Yeah, so think about it. You have a child with that is blind. They said you have to take them to school or you would be arrested. You take them to school. The school has no braille. So braille, they literally they can't understand anything that's happening or feel anything that's happening. But then you're saying that if I don't take them to school, you're arrested. It's sort of like a catch-22. Do I or do I not? So again, so that's how the public can support in terms of being your brother's keeper, questioning things, ask us. We live in that generation where we question things a lot now.
Yeah.
So we can do more of that. There's also the funding that would definitely help when we're doing things like advocacy, when we are doing education to sort of make people more aware and to sensitize, the public. If national media platforms like yourself and others talk a lot about disability, if you turn on your TV and you're seeing a PWD as a newscaster, that pushes you.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, and other PWDs, for example, kids or young adults see this and they're motivated, like, I can do this, you know, it doesn't limit me. So yeah, that's pretty much ways in which they can help, and being our brother's keeper, funding, advocating, because you can be the spokesperson for someone that, the underdog, and we're all called to do that, so why not?
Right. I don't know how long you've been operating in Ghana, but I know you've been in Ghana for some time.
Yeah.
Have there been a few misconceptions about, NGOs in Ghana, and how do you deal with these misconceptions?
100%. So my nature is I'm very sometimes I don't believe that you have to sugarcoat things. So I mean, if you do have a misconception, I will correct and say that's not what it is, but obviously correct in love.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not really about what you say, it's about how you say it.
Yeah.
So I mean, the NGO, for not just specific to Ghana, there's the thought of some people think it's a money laundering scheme.
Exactly.
Some people think that, okay, you have too much money, you don't know what to do it with, and you're doing other things. And that's why I'm always harping on the fact that we don't just do charity and donation. We do research, and the research is supposed to inform policy writing. It's supposed to get the stakeholders to say, okay, they've done this research, this is the gap. What are we doing about it? So yes, there'll always be misconception, but obviously at the end of the day, like the story I gave about the friends that brought their friend to Jesus, you would have barriers. You can't stop at that, but you have to push through, because there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So,
okay.
yes.
And I also know that NGOs usually are non-governmental, and so they are private, they are personal.
Yes.
How do you ensure that you are being transparent to the people out there supporting you? I mean, even though it is yours, you're running it, but they are getting support from outside. How do you become very transparent to the public?
100%. At the end of the day, if I'm giving you my money, I want to see what you're using it for.
Exactly.
I don't want to see you in a Jeep and I'm thinking, is it my money or not? I think that's why I'm always transparent about the fact that I have a different profession too. So I'm a clinical pharmacist by profession. Okay. So again, also on our website, you see all the ways that your money has been used. And also every year we have to make an annual report to like social welfare, so that to see what the money has been used for.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm also registered in the UK, I'm required by law to give an account of what I've used the money for. And if you go on the charity website, you put in so far, it will bring up our name and every year that we've published what we have done. I mean, you can just be audited. So we also have to do audits sometimes. So you can audit and ask, what have you used this for? So I'm bound by law in both Ghana and in the UK. And again, like I said, because my foundation is Christ, there's that deep conviction inside of me where I cannot use your money, because I'm thinking, somewhere in the Bible talks about When you take care of the widows, the orphans, you're taking care of me. If I'm spending money someone has given to me for orphans, my goodness, it's scary for me. I can't even think to do that. I think if at that point that's a thought in my mind, then I have to excuse myself. But in so far, we're very transparent about everything that we do. So you go on our website, you see what we use the money for. You go on the charity website, you see what we use our money for. We use your money and donations for as well.
I also want to know, what changes would you like to see in Ghana, as to make the work of NGOs more, appealing? Yeah, because it looks like a lot of people do not really want to, because of the misconceptions and other things. What do you think maybe government or people can do to make it more attractive?
Yeah. Again, what you said about transparency. If you're transparent in what you do, so for example, you say that, okay, you donate this amount of money to us, we're going to use it for X, Y, Z. And I go on, because right now we live in online, everything is online. If I go online and I can't find anything about you, there's no history about you, nothing to show what you've used my money for. Again, that is a concern, because where's my money gone to? That's one. And two, we can also talk about education. You know how you mentioned that, has there ever been a case where people would ask odd questions? You have to be clear and answer them. If you're sort of being elusive to those questions, I mean, that can lead people to make assumptions as to what the money is being used for. So you're clear, and then if you can back it up with your receipts and say, okay, this is the amount of money we received, this is what we've used for. And also you have to be transparent in the sense of it shouldn't just be a one-way street. You should allow your donors to ask you questions, because they have the right to. They donated something. You shouldn't be cagey about it, because if you're cagey, again, you do look suspicious. So these are little ways that we can do to make people more confident in NGOs, because you're right, it's private. So why would I want to give you money? I'm not seeing what you're doing, but you claim you're doing things. I don't just want to hear you say what you're doing. I want to see what you're doing, and sometimes you find that international organizations, let's say, for example, I mentioned that we have 2 beneficiaries. I can have maybe some of the kids that you're maybe sponsoring send you a letter, send you pictures to see what they're doing. Again, that makes you want to give more, and that makes you understand, okay, my money is being used for something credible.
I see. So we are about to wrap up, but let me also ask you, I mean, have there been times where the needs of the people you are supporting were overwhelming as compared to the support you intended giving them, and how did you handle that?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. I also know that we have a picture of you with some persons with disabilities, so if we can have that on the screen whilst she's answering my question, I'll be glad.
My goodness. Thank you again for this question. It can be very, very overwhelming at times, especially when you have ideas and you have plans and you know that this child is very much in need, and the support that you have or the funding that you have is not enough to support them. I mentioned before that typically when you start an NGO, most of the time, I mean, in our case anyway, it's been a lot of self-funding. I think it's realizing and grounding yourself that you want to be careful so you're not a jack of all trades. Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of people that need support. I think it's something I had to learn after a couple of mistakes. I mean, when you are empathetic and you have that heart, you really want to give. You want to give so much, but you have to always also realize that if you haven't got the funding to give, you need to be grounded and try and do what you can. Because at the end of the day, you want to help people. You're not savior necessarily, but you do want to help. Because think about it, if you can make a significant difference in 1 or 2 people's lives, and then because you think you want to spread yourself thin, you might make a difference, but in 20 people, it wouldn't be as credible as it would be, or it wouldn't make that much of a difference as in if you were just doing it in 2 people. So currently, we would love to support more PWDs, but we only have the capacity to support just 2 for now. And we're hoping to do more than that, but for now, that's what we can, and that's what we're doing.
Right. Let's talk about SOFA. I mean, let's use the remaining minutes to brag about it. I mean, what do you do? I mean, how long have you been in the system? How can people support?
So again, like I mentioned, we started our first initiative in 2022. And since then, we've partnered with other charities. There are lots of projects that we're hoping to launch in 2026. And with every project, again, because we're non-governmental, the support would be very helpful in terms of funding. But at the end of the day, it's also when you talk about it more, because like I said, charity is good, donations are good, but you want to, the fundamentals is the weak enforcement and lack of accessibility. So you want to find a way where the government can hear us when we talk about this. So we're doing research, we're doing education, but the research exposes the gaps. So recently, like I said, publishing that report made us realize, okay, these are the gaps. Because we can do all we can do, but if the root is rotten and you're trying to fix the fruit, it will keep producing rotten fruit. Yeah. So as much as we want to do all of that in the education and the sensitization, we have to remember that if we can find a way to get the government to hear us when we're talking about weak enforcement, lack of accessibility, empowering the NCP, so that's the Council for Persons with Disability, to be able to do more enforcement, letting the police know that you have to be checking these things. At the end of the day, if I'm bringing an initiative on tertiary education on 5% job quota, and that foundation is shaky, it's not going to really produce that much of a difference. So, I mean, SOFA would love support, and obviously if organizations can obviously partner with us to bring this to light, that would be amazing.
So do you have a contact detail? I mean,
yes,
something.
I do. I think I gave it to.
Oh, so it's with the producer.
Yes,
Producer, can we have it displayed?
Yes. So these are the different ways you can support SOFA. Like I said, because we're registered in the UK, we do have a UK account, and then a Ghana account, mobile money, PayPal, and it's our contact info. So for any partnership, for any discussion, you can either reach us via phone or you can contact us via email. Yes.
Do you have an upcoming project?
Yes, we do have upcoming projects, quite a lot. So we want to finalize them, but it's going to be in 2026.
Oh, okay.
And again, it's a lot of partnership, but it's just sounding the horn for anyone that would hear we need to work on accessibility and enforcement. So with this interview, if anyone forgets whatever we discussed and wants to remember something, I want them to remember the fact that we need to work on enforcement and accessibility, and that is sort of the foundation and the tool that's needed to make. Because PWDs are not second-class citizens. Yeah, they need to be treated with dignity and respect. You know, it's not a charity. Yeah. They are humans. Yeah. They have rights as well. Yeah. We cannot just ignore them because, you know, sometimes we can say things like, Ghana has a lot of issues. You know, this PWD thing, you guys calm down. No, like I said, our infrastructure is set up in a way that tomorrow you could be an accident away from having a disability. So you want to take that seriously now.
All right. So Chelsea Nyantechi, sorry, is my guest, or was my guest for today's lifestyle segment. Let me just read a little bit about Chelsea so you know that she's authentic. I mean, Chelsea Nyantechi is the co-founder and program lead of SOFA. She is a UK registered clinical pharmacist and a certified level 1-3 safeguarding trainer for children and adults at risk. She oversees SOFA's programs, partnerships, national advocacy, and research. Chelsea is also the lead author of the published Disability Report, From Promise to Practice, commissioned by SOFA. The report examines Ghana's disability landscape and exposes systemic barriers in education, healthcare, mobility, employment, and the enforcement of existing laws. It reflects SOFA's commitment to evidence-driven advocacy and structural reforms. That is, you know, a little bit about Chelsea Nyantechi, and so you should know that she's very authentic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For coming through. Okay, so that's all we have for you on the lifestyle segment. We have some amazing personalities to celebrate. Let's take a look.
I heard today was your birthday. I heard today.
Okay, so who is our first birthday celebrant? Happy birthday, Pamela Anina J. Bonsu. May your day be filled with joy, love, and God's sweetest blessings. Enjoy your special day. We also have this happy birthday, Mrs. Abigail Anaba Otre. Wishing you a beautiful year filled with joy, peace, and God's unending favor. May your heart overflow with laughter, love, and every blessing your spirit desires. And we also have this, a happy birthday, Alfred Kwao. Mommy loves you deeply and thanks God for your life every day. May this new year bring you joy, favor, and endless blessings. Okay, so that's all we have for you on today's birthday celebrants. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Benedict and Kitia Kwatin will be joining me shortly to take us into the world of sports. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the Koko Digest Morning Show. Just as I said, Benedict Nketiah-Kwarteng has joined me in the studio and he's ready. I don't know. There is this tension. I mean, when I asked him, he was like, oh, today it looks like they are going to face their biggest enemy. I don't know if that's true. Chelsea.
They actually see us as their biggest enemy.
Hey.
I mean, we are living rent-free in the heads of a lot of teams. Yes.
What's happening between Manchester and Chelsea?
Yeah, a lot is happening actually. Thank you very much. Let me say a good morning to our viewers out there. And of course, my name is Benedict Nketiah-Kwarteng, and I'm bringing you the sports update segment on the sports update segment, of course. Yeah, so Mimi, just as you rightly said, there's a lot going on in Europe, especially. We have Champions League games coming up. That is Barcelona and then Chelsea. That is the biggest of the games that is happening
okay.
today.
So it's not Manchester.
No.
Oh, okay.
But then, yeah, Manchester played yesterday, last night,
okay.
against Everton, a 10-man Everton. Their player went off. Everton lost a player, I think, around the 18th minute.
Oh.
The players fought amongst themselves, and then he was given a red card. So we're all expecting Manchester United to win this game against
but
a
unfortunately,
10-man team. Unfortunately, they won against Manchester United. We don't know what is happening because, I mean, we were expecting United to win this game.
We have to dissolve Manchester United so that we'll join you guys, with Chelsea.
No. Manchester should find out that not Chelsea. They can't help Chelsea. I mean, yes. And then, of course, Liverpool too is having a sad season.
Oh.
Liverpool lost again on Saturday against Nottingham Forest, 3-0. It was quite unfortunate. It was heartbreaking because we know Liverpool. I mean, this is the first time I've watched a Liverpool game and I've seen the fans leaving the stadium even before the end of the game. It was sad. It was heartbreaking. I saw some of the comments, the post comments after the game, and then it was sad. The Scouse, Liverpool folks are Scouse.
Yeah.
Their English is different from the normal, and then it's funny. I mean, it's sad, but then the way they speak and all that. But then, yeah, that's interesting. That's the interesting part of football. You win today, you lose tomorrow. Yeah, let me move on to our stories for today.
Exactly.
I'll start with the local stories for today. We have the Great Olympics coach Sule Adamu resigns after a disappointing start of season. So the Great Olympics coach Sule Adamu has resigned following a 1-1 draw against True Democracy. That was on Sunday. They played a 1-1 draw against True Democracy, just being 1 point above the relegation zone. So they've played 8 games, and they have just 7 points out of the 8 games. So you can tell that this is quite a poor start for Great Olympics. Olidade, we know Olympics to be one of the biggest teams, one of the strongest teams in this region, Greater Accra. Unfortunately, they were relegated the season prior to this, and then they're not doing very well as at now. So the coach, I mean, he realized that he's not performing to his ability, so he had to resign on his own. He didn't wait for them to sack him. So yes, he just has 7. He has 7 points out of 8 games.
Oh, okay.
It's not something to write home about. Play 8 games. After every game, when you win, you must earn 3 points. So earning 7 points, it's not the best. It's not the best.
Games,
Yes, it's not the best. So I think this is a good way for him just to protect whatever integrity he has left of him and all that. So let's move on to our next story. We are talking about Kumasi Asante Kotoko. So GFA charges Kumasi Asante Kotoko over insightful social media comments after Samatex draw. So our very own Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Some people know me to be a Kotoko fan. It's not a lie. It's not. I'm not even hiding the fact that I support Kumasi Asante Kotoko. So yes, GFA is charging Kotoko over some insightful social media comments they made after the game with Samatex. Yes, so they played 0-0 against Samatex over the weekend, and then that was the match day 11 of the Ghana Premier League. And then, of course, Kumasi Asante Kotoko, the opponent, that was Samatex, they were awarded a penalty in the last minutes, the dying minutes of the game. Fortunately for Kotoko, the keeper, Mohamed Kamara, saved the penalty. They took it to their social media platform That was X, and then they posted that is the referee Aduntera, sorry if I got the name wrong, has awarded penalty for a foul outside the box. So according to the comments by the Kumasi Asante Kotoko team and then their staff, the penalty was outside the box. But then of course the referee called the penalty and he directed inside the box, calling for a penalty for Samatex. Fortunately for Kotoko, their keeper Mohamed Kamara, one of the best in the league so far, saved the penalty, and then it led to a 0-0 draw for the team. Kotoko is currently on an unbeaten run. They haven't lost a game so far in the season and all that. So they are hoping to continue with this run. So this penalty actually called, rose some of their tensions and all that. People's hearts started spiking and all. Their blood pressure started spiking because they thought they were going to lose this game. But then, of course, the keeper came through for them. So another section, 34(6)(d) of the GFA League regulations, which covers misconduct that brings the game into disrepute. Kotoko have been given until Wednesday, November 26th, 2025 to submit their response. So God willing, tomorrow they have to submit a response as to why they posted such a comment on the social media platform. Let me move to our international story. So the Saudi Fund for Development, they have joined forces with FIFA to provide financial support for sports infrastructure in developing countries. So this is actually good news for most of the developing countries out there who are also invested into sports, because Saudi Fund, they are proposing loans spanning about $1 billion USD to be invested into the sports infrastructure of developing countries. So I think Ghana qualifies to be one. I don't know yet, but I think we also qualify to be one. We are going to earn some of this loans for developing our sports infrastructure, and then some other countries as well. So FIFA, they signed a memorandum of understanding to dispatch this money to the developing countries out there. Hopefully it will be used to good use, because we know sometimes when these monies come through, the leaders out there tend to channel this money, these funds into something else. But then I know eyes will be on this, because it's actually coming from FIFA, it's coming from the Saudi Fund, and then there are eyes everywhere, because this is very important, because we need to develop our sports, we need to develop football, we need to develop anything under sport. So this is very important, and then we hope that it will be put to good use and all that. Then let me move to our final story for today. It has to do with our very own player, Ghanaian player who got injured over the international break. So we have Toulouse players show support to Abu Francis after horrific injury. So yes, Abu Francis got injured over last week when we were playing for the international break, Ghana against South Korea, and then his team, his club, that is Toulouse, they showed support. It's quite touching. When the players met, when they faced, they were taking the group picture. That's on our screen. They displayed a jersey of his, Abu Francis, in solidarity for his injury. They are wishing him, in other ways, they are wishing him a speedy recovery and hoping that he returns soon and all that. He's going to miss the World Cup due to the injury, because it was quite gruesome. Those of us who saw the videos and then the pictures of the injury, we were all feeling a bit of some way. But then, yes, that is football for you. There are days like that. So he's 24 years old. He's quite young. So we know he will come back better. What needs to happen is the rehabilitation period, the mental state. He needs to go through all these things, because it's not easy when you are injured like that and then you come back. Sometimes kicking a ball is difficult. You need to go through therapy and all that, because sometimes you feel like you might be hurt again and all that. So wish him the best. We pray that he recovers fast. He takes his time, but then he recovers fast, so he can be back on the pitch to help the national team and, of course, his club, Toulouse, in their endeavors and all that. So, Mimi, yes, thank you very much. This is it for the sports update segment. Before I end my submission for today is the birthday of one of the best midfielders in the world, Pedri. He's 23 years old today. We want to wish him a happy birthday on behalf of Barcelona fans worldwide, on behalf of myself, on behalf of Barcelona fans in Ghana. We want to wish Pedri a happy birthday, and of course, wish him the best. Today we are going to win for you, Pedri. We're going to win and we'll celebrate with you. Yeah. So thank you very much, Mimi.
Thank you so much, Benedict and Ketia Kwarteng. I don't know why James seems to be very overly excited.
Don't worry.
Okay.
He's a Chelsea fan, so we should understand.
Okay.
The happiness will be cut short soon.
We'll be back here on Thursday to tell you the results. I mean, whether he'll cry or keep...
Kwata by 9:30.
Okay, thank you so much for staying with us. That has been the sports update. I just want to remind you that today LTS will be going live, and so you'd have to stay with us at 3 p.m. here on Clock TV, where we discuss everything happening in the entertainment world. A lot of things are happening. You would like to, stay with us. Clement Abankwe is standing by to take us into the world of business.
Good morning, welcome to the Business Update segment. I am Clement Yabankwe. Now on to our stories. The government of Ghana has confirmed that the United States has fully removed the 15% tariff previously applied to Ghana's cocoa and several agriculture exports. Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa said U.S. officials formally notified Ghana's mission in Washington with the reversal taking effect on November 13, 2025, after President Donald Trump signed a new executive order.
The U.S. has removed tariffs on Ghana's cocoa and several other agricultural exports, reversing a policy that had raised export costs. The government expects the decision to bring in an additional $60 million annually, based on Ghana's average cocoa export. Officials say the tariff removal will significantly boost Ghana's export sector, especially given the U.S. position as the world's largest importer of cocoa and chocolate products. Both nations have reaffirmed their commitment to deepening economic cooperation.
Away from that, the Third Association of African Accountant General Conference kicked off on Monday, November 24, 2025, with a call for stronger financial governance to drive the continent's economic growth. Controller and Accountant General, Mr. Kwesi Eje, emphasized the need for effective public financial management in his opening remarks.
We deliberate, let us envision an Africa where public resources are safeguarded and directed towards national priorities. Third, where technology is leveraged to strengthen financial governance, where institutions are empowered to build trust and accountability, and where cross-border collaboration becomes the norm rather than the exception. This is the Africa of tomorrow, in which public financial management evolves from a back-office location to a strategic driver of economic prosperity. Your Excellency, thank you for your attention. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure once again to welcome you to Ghana, the land of great hospitality, culture, and resilience. May our deliberation be fruitful, our partnership strengthened, and our shared vision for Africa's economic transformation realized.
The J added that public financial management should evolve from a back-office function to a strategic driver of economic prosperity, highlighting the critical role it plays in shaping Africa's economic future.
In conclusion, professional service firm PricewaterhouseCoopers (PwC) is urging the Bank of Ghana to proceed with caution as it weighs a possible adjustment to the monetary policy rates at its upcoming meeting from November 24th to 26th, 2025. PwC highlighted ongoing external risks, referencing an assessment by UK-based Fitch Solution, which warns that while Ghana's economic outlook remains strong, increasing Islamic exigencies activity in the Sahel could pose a threat to the country's growth path.
Ghana's country senior partner Vish Ashiagbo says the Bank of Ghana will likely keep its policy rate at 21.5% as it weighs falling inflation against rising economic risks. While a rate cut will be helpful, he noted that uncertainties in the external environment make a hold more realistic. This comes after the central bank cut the rate by 350 basis points in September 2025 due to sustained easing in inflation.
Thank you so much for staying with us for the Business Update segment. But yes, still tonight, we are still awaiting the win of Chelsea, the Blues. I am Clement Yabankwe. Do enjoy the rest of the show.
Hello and welcome back to the Koko Digest Morning Show, the show that keeps you up to date with all the happenings in current affairs, politics, education, economics, and whatever you have, and lifestyle included. This is where it's all happening. That's where we bring it to you, served hot on the morning for you to enjoy, just like your breakfast. And then today we'll be having an extensive discussion, one which we've had before, and we'll be having a part 2 of that. We are going to have the law and what every worker must know. You remember that we had this particular discussion extensively, and I was joined or serenaded by top-notch officials from the Labour, that's the Ministry of Employment and Labour, Ministry of Jobs, Employment and Labour, that is, I should say. And they were here. We delved deeper into the law and what every worker must know. I'm talking about none other than Mr. McGeorge Kofi Mensah, who is here with me, and Mr. Godwin Kwanzaa as well, senior Labour officers at the Labour Department of the Ministry of Jobs, Employment and Labour. Guys, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, it's good to have you back in the studios with me again.
It's good to be back as well.
Yes, I mean, the feedback we received from the previous discussions that we had prompted that we needed to continue with this all-important discussion, and that's why we are here once again this morning to keep it going and then to make sure that everyone or every worker is really informed with what is actually going on in the world of work. But before we go on, in case you are watching this particular segment for the first time, we want you to understand what really transpired in the previous one. So we'll go and then we'll take some short clips of the previous excerpts from the previous production that we had on this particular topic. So we'll be back after that particular video.
So I would say that in the interest of the employer, it would be best if you have your workers ready and fit for service. You would bear with me that working 365 days in a year is not an easy task. That is why the law mandates that every worker should be entitled to at least 15 working days. Maybe in your organization, you may have more, you may have better, 20, 30, however, but minimum 15 working days. And you realize that at a point, if you are tired or when you are overwhelmed with work, productivity drops.
That's true.
Productivity drops.
That's true.
So it would be prudent for you to encourage your worker to go on leave and not commit it to cash in any way or in any form. Moreover, the law mandates that as employers or as businessmen and business owners, we are supposed to give notices to our employees at least 30 days before the commencement of their leave. So before the year ends, as the HR or as the business owner, you're supposed to ask your employers to bring in their leave days or schedules so that you can plan, so that if you have two people, both will not go at the same time. Okay. So you can plan and arrange it. And then 30 days before the leave commencement, you give them a notice that, Madrosh, or Kwame, you mentioned that you are going on leave on this date, so make sure that you go. Then when the employee goes and he returns reinvigorated. So I would rather advise that instead of committing it to cash, allow the workers to rest. But workers, can it be done also? Make sure you go on leave, go and rest.
Rest. Everybody needs rest. Even God rested on the seventh day. So everybody needs rest. You can't work throughout the whole year. No. You need to rest.
Interesting there. And mind you, in the case where, as a worker, you've been called back from your leave, you are still entitled to the number of days or period you were called back. Maybe they needed you urgently, so you had to forego your leave and return, come and complete an assignment.
So let's say it's 3 hours.
Oh no, not 3 hours. Once you come, you've come for a day. Also, once you've come, you are entitled to it after the elapsement of your agreed period.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is how we had it. I'm sure you heard the famous statement, even God rested on the seventh day. Now, so yes, a kind reminder that we are also streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. If you go on Facebook and YouTube, you search for Clock TV GH, you'll be able to watch us live and in color. And we're also serving you right on this show. So you can actually send messages, WhatsApp messages on the platforms on your screens over there as well. And then on our WhatsApp, 0500500421, and we'll be kind enough to read them for you we'll be opening the phone lines in and along this particular session, and then you'll be able to call in, just like you did the other time, to bring in your views, your comments on some of the things that we'll be discussing. But just as a recap, we started by looking at the foundations of labor, and then we saw what labor was, or who someone can be described as, qualifies as labor. We looked at the law that governs labor as well, and we looked at working conditions and rights. That's where we actually talked about the leave, the number of leave days. We looked at employment contracts as well. We talked about that a little bit. What are the requirements of a valid employment contract? Must every employment relationship be in writing? We talked about all of these, and you mentioned that there are even agencies that help to explain some of these contracts for us, and our viewers were actually happy. Some of them called in and all that. We talked about leave entitlements, and we were talking about termination and dismissal, and the famous word simpliciter came in, and that was what we had discussed before, and we had to cut that particular show short. So now, let's go back a little bit to the leave entitlements, and then we'll now zone into termination and dismissal.
Okay.
So, just as a recap, how many days annually is a worker entitled to work?
So the law per the Labor Act 651, it's the minimum number of working days or like leave entitlement for each worker in Ghana shouldn't be less than 15. That is 15 working days, not 15 days. 15 working days, like that is 3 weeks. So then that should be the barest. No employer should set below that. So every worker should have or is entitled to at least 15 working days in a year.
So that is the least number of days. Now, there are certain instances where some organizations say that if you've not stayed there for more than a year, you are not entitled to that 15 working days annual leave. So they expect that you stay there you work for 1 whole year without going on leave, and then in the following year, you'll be given that allowance for that 15 days, working days leave. Is that legal?
So we have probationary period. During your probationary period, which is usually a year, that is fine. But after your probationary period of a year, and you are now certified as like a worker with the organization, you are entitled to an annual leave of not less than 15 days.
Not less than 15 days. Yes. That's enlightening there. So the probationary period is usually a year, and that's what we are actually required to do. And apart from the normal annual casual leave, that's what you're called, 15 days casual leave. You mentioned also the other time that there are different types of leave that one can be entitled to, which will be outside the 15 days that we mentioned. Can you?
Yeah, so there are other, apart from the annual leave, we have casual leave, we have compassionate leave, and others. If maternity leave is also there. Once you are sick leave is also there. Once you are sick, some employers say that, because you were sick and you took this number of days off, we are subtracting it from your annual leave. But that is not the case. It is not legal. Legally, there are other types of leave, and sick leave is one. So once you are sick and it's certified by a doctor that you are sick, you enjoy your sick leave. Secondly, to maternity leave, like once you are pregnant, all of us know, like once you are pregnant, you go on a few days or a few weeks leave. That is maternity leave. We are human beings. In the course of duty and all of that, people actually, things come up. You understand, relating with family and all of that. So there's something we call compassionate leave. Compassionate leaves are either sick leave, maternity leaves. They are leaves that arise like as humans. If I say as humans, what I mean is, let's say you can wake up one day, you have an emergency, you need to attend to your child or your ward or your spouse or anything. You are not sick. So you can take compassionate leave and attend to that. So there are other forms of leaves.
And to add to what he said, for our mothers or for our women, the law allows for an extension of your maternity leave period if complications arise out of the birth. So if it happens that you went through a surgery or there were some complications during birth, the law allows for an extension of that 90 days or 3 months maternity leave period. And then also maybe you gave birth to twins. Those are some exceptions that our mothers enjoy, and soon, very soon, our fathers will also start enjoying paternity leave in its essence.
All right, so maybe you give us a little bit of a glimmer of what that paternity leave is going to look like for us.
So it's basically for fathers or for men. We know with the current one, as a father, you cannot take a leave that I wouldn't say a man has given birth, but yes.
My wife has put to bed.
My wife has put to bed, so I'm taking leave for it. Is not clearly stated or clearly allowed, but now it's going to be clearly stipulated that you are allowed maybe 5, 10, 15 working days to also go and help or support your wife in keeping the child safe and healthy within the first period of birth.
That's really interesting there. We talk about equity and we talk about equality. Maybe there's one big shout for the men as well. But away from that, let's look at the number of days. You mentioned 90 days, Mr. McGeorge. 90 days, does that mean 90? Because a lot of discussions are going on in there. Does that mean 90 working days or 90 days?
So it is 12 weeks.
12 weeks.
12 working weeks.
12 working weeks.
Yes, but if we do the calculation, I mean, in our contemporary or in our local settings, 4 weeks to a month, 4 by 3 is 12. So 12 weeks, we assume it is 3 months. So the law stipulates 12 weeks.
Okay.
So the interpretation of the 12 weeks would amount to the 3 months. Okay. So not necessarily 90 days, but if you look at the
the reason why the number 90 came in question was if someone is saying 90 working days and I work from Monday to Friday, that means I'm having 5 per week.
No, so it is
and
12,
if I'm going to spread it across,
it is 12 weeks.
Okay.
That works with maternity. But if you are talking of annual leave, that is working days.
Okay.
But when you are talking of maternity, it is in weeks.
Okay.
That doesn't take cognizance of the working days. But if you are talking of annual leave, that is working days.
All right. Viewers, you are being educated, and then you can send your WhatsApp message 0500500421. Let us know your thoughts, your concerns about working conditions. Let us know your thoughts, your concerns about dismissals, whether someone has been dismissed unfairly, employment contracts. They are here. These are senior labor officers who have dedicated their lives to make sure that fairness in the workplace is thriving. And you can also send a message and send your comments and all that, and then they'll be able to attend to them for you. Shortly, we'll be opening the phone lines so that you can also call in to make sure that all your answers concerning working conditions will be answered by them in as much as they can do. And now, before we move on from the leave and entitlements, now let's talk about whether leave can be deferred or converted to cash. Let's say if this whole year I believe that I don't want to go on any leave, and then next year I think that I may need probably instead of the 15 days, I may need 30 days, 30 working days casual leave. Can I defer this year's leave and then carry it over to the next year? Is it legal, or can I convert it to cash if my employer says that this year I'm not sure you can go on any leave? So can I convert it to cash and then benefit from it as well?
So when it comes to converting leaves to cash, the law does not say that you can convert leaves to cash. And about accruing leaves too, the law does not say that leaves can be accrued. So let's say this year you have 30 leave days, and you say, no, I won't take it this year, I'll take it next year. The law is not emphatic on that. However, it boils down to the agreement between the employer, the conditions and services of the employer. There are some situations or peak periods in jobs that your employer will need your services than you going to, or will need all their workers to be available. In such cases, like as I said earlier, the agreement between the employers, you can choose to work and your employer will compensate you, or you can choose to go on leave. It is not mandatory for the employer to say, do not go on leave, I'll give it to you as cash. No, that is illegal. You can, but you, the employee, can decide to, if the proposal comes from the employer, you, the employee, can decide to still go on your leave or stay to work, and by which the employer will compensate you or would defer your leave to another period.
Yeah, interesting one there. Because the reason why I'm asking this is recently we heard from the news that the IGP said that in December no one is going to go on leave. So that talks about the peak period.
Yes.
Because a lot of activities will be ongoing, and then they will need a lot more policemen to ensure security. So that is also legal.
Yes.
Interesting. Now, away from leave and then leave entitlements, let's move to termination and dismissal. Under what grounds can someone's contract, employment contract, be terminated?
So for termination of contract, the law allows for certain conditions to be met before your contract is terminated. So for example, by medical, if for reasons of your health, you cannot be productive or perform as you would, it allows for the employer to sever the relationship to bring in somebody who can boost productivity. Then again, if for any reason at all, you misconduct yourself in the workplace, it is also a legal ground for the employer to stand on and say, I can no more work with you because you've violated certain principles or you violated certain actions upon which I am standing to terminate our agreement. So these are some of the conditions that needs to be satisfied before a termination can be taken effect. Yes.
All right. So then that brings me to the next point, which says that there is fair termination or fair dismissal. There is unfair, then there's unlawful. So are there differences between these three? Obviously, the fair and then unfair, you think that they are opposites. But unfair and then unlawful, what are some of the differences between some of these dismissals?
For the unfair, I'll give, the law says that if by reason of my activities as a union member in the organization, you decide to terminate my appointment, it is considered unfair. So two or more people come together to form a union which is advocating for the rights of the workers in the establishment. And you say that these are the kingpins who are pulling the masses to advocate for their rights, which is legally mandated. And you say because if you take them out of the equation,
the rest weaken the union and
the rest. So if for that reason you decide to terminate it, it is considered unfair and you can be taken on. Then again, if per reason of my performing my duties, I get into an injury or I am injured, and you say because of my injury, you are terminating me because I can't work, it is also grounds to be considered as unfair because I was working for you. If out of that injury, it so happens that I cannot get anywhere within the organization. So maybe I was an operator, but now my hands can't work, but I can perform another duty in the same establishment. The law allows you to change my role to be able to still be in employment, but not to legally say you can't do it. If all other options are exhausted, then you can terminate his or her appointment. So those are some of also the conditions that amounts to fair and unfair termination.
Okay.
So, taking from there, it boils down to the types of dismissal.
Okay.
So, like you see what you said, like unlawful dismissal. Sometimes, to some of the employers, deliberately create conditions for you to not operate properly or attain your full potential, and by then dismissing you. That is considered constructive dismissal. You are putting, or you are not allowing the employee to fully function, or like you are putting in measures and things to prevent him from achieving his goals. that is considered some constructive dismissal.
Okay, so that has brought us back to the famous terms when it comes to dismissal. But before, yes. is there a difference between termination and dismissal, or they all mean the same thing?
Basically, termination is like you've done something unlawful, and it's been terminated. Yeah. As for termination, comes from unlawful grounds. Unlawful, okay. Yes. But dismissals are more or less like agreement. An example would be simpliciter. You like fair mutual agreement that I would want to quit the job. The employer understands it. But terminations are mostly from unlawful conduct.
Okay, that's interesting there. And then just the other time, you the famous word simpliciter has read its head again. There are different types of dismissal, as you mentioned. You explained constructive dismissal, but then there are some other two that I know of, which is the summary dismissal and then the simpliciter. Can you explain that to us?
So the summary dismissal is when an employee does something or misconducts him or herself, and by that the employer feels that this misconduct needs you to be shown the exit. So with that, you are dismissed. Let's say an example would be like an employee goes to steal from the employer. Once you are caught, this is a wrongful act. Yeah. Once you are caught, the employer has every right to what? Dismiss you. So that is basically summary dismissal. By your conduct, you are dismissed. Yeah. And that is like termination. You are terminated. But when it comes to simpliciter, simpliciter is mostly in lieu of notice, and like let's say that is mutually agreed. So for an employer to, if you've worked for 3 years and above, you serve your employer 1 month notice. Okay. But if you've worked below 3 years, you serve your employer 2 weeks notice. So the simpliciter there are two different types. When you've worked for 3 years, you serve 1 month notice. If you've worked below 3 years, you serve 2 weeks notice. So that's basically what simpliciter talks about. It's just in lieu of notice before you exit. Before,
okay. Yeah. All right. So that brings me to the type of protections that are available, or the types of redress that are available for workers against unlawful termination of their contracts.
So the law allows for you to raise concerns when you feel you've been terminated unfairly. So you can address it internally. Internally, you can exhaust the internal procedures. Once that doesn't resolve into anything substantive and you want to take it further, you can write to the National Labour Commission, and then they would investigate the matter and determine whether it was really lawful or unlawful, or whether the grounds were right or they were not right. And in the case where they find out that it was unlawful for you to be terminated, they can mandate your employer to reinstate you, or depending on how the separation went, if there's a need to separate totally, the agreement will be had, and then the continuation of the process will continue. So that is one layer of protection. It is to write in address to the National Labour Commission and explain yourself or your grievance, and they would attend to it. Alternatively, the law allows for unionism, where two or more form or join or come together to form a union to advocate for the rights and the betterment of workers' conditions. So if there is a union presence there, so those are part of I would say, the internal procedures that needs to be exhausted. The union leaders or the union members dialogue on the issue together with the employer, and as a form of protection, it shields you from feeling neglected or being pinpointed out of the lot. So those are some of the protections that the law gives to workers in the Labour Act 2651.
Well, there are some messages coming in right away, and I'll just pick one of them. This one says, hello, please, there's work There's this work at Achimota ABC. I work over there. The working hours was 12 hours. There's no leave given to any employee, and when you confront them about the issue, they just sack you without any letter. Employees are not treated in accordance to the labor law, in accordance with the labor law, that should be. And what can be done about this issue, please? The company isn't registered, not paying any SNIT to the workers. Salary just paid in an envelope. This is coming from Stephen. Stephen texted us from Achimota. Any redress for Stephen?
So I would encourage Stephen to send you the details of his workplace. We are, like we mentioned the previous time, we are mandated to conduct labor inspection. So we would visit the institution, and then we know how we go about it. We go about it professionally. We are not going to pinpoint anybody out. We as part of our random duties we perform. So we would ascertain the truth of the matter, and then we would put advice where it is needed.
So sometimes these things are very dicey. We know employers always, their main motive for engaging in business, that is as another factor of production, is profit. If I'm opening any business, then I should be profiting from it. That's basically what they do. But then juxtaposing that against what should be done, the right things to be done, the right labor procedures and processes that should be in place before they actually do that. That often is a problem. But sometimes the employers also say that their concerns are also left unattended to. How does the labor department respond to this particular one?
So this is where the tripartite comes into place, where the employer on one side, workers on the other side, and then the labor department also, or the labor commission on one hand. And together we dialogue to bring finality to the issue. If you will need a third party if it goes beyond the two, which is the worker and the employer. If it goes beyond you two, then you bring in a third party to mediate or find the best way to go about things.
So just to add up to what he said, the law allows for employers to also form unions. Yes, it's not just employees. So once you are an employer and you are employing 15 or more people, you also can form a union, just like the employees would churn out their grievances through the unions and all of that. You, the employers association, too, can churn out your grievances. So the law is not just a one-sided thing. It protects the interest of the employers as well.
All right. This is also coming from Fred from Kaswa. Fred is saying, hello, good morning. I want to find out if the annual leave applies to private workers too, like bar workers, etc.
Like
bar workers, those who work in the bar.
Yes. As I said from our last presentation, everyone who is working in Ghana with a contract of 6 months and above is entitled to an annual leave. So once again, once you have an employment contract and you are working, you are entitled to an annual leave.
All right, the messages keep coming in, and this also is coming from Julius Ampa from Hacho. Julius Ampa is saying that great discussion there. Good morning to everyone. To my question, what are the most important rights every worker in Ghana should know under the Labour Act? And how can employees practically enforce these rights at the workplace? It seems one guest answered, but elaborate more on that. That's what he's saying.
So to address this, if you would permit me, I would want to read verbatim what the law states.
Thank you. Please do.
So
a lot of messages are coming in there. Keep them coming. This is the reason why they are here. 0500500421 is the number that you can text us. Wow, Mr. Godwin, you're ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, let's go.
So the Labour Act 2003, Act 651, it clearly stipulates what the right of a worker is and what the duties of a worker is. Under Section 10, which talks about the right of a worker, it says, as a worker, you are entitled to work under satisfactory, safe, and healthy conditions. It is your right. It's non-negotiable. Safe, satisfactory, and healthy. So if in your institution or in your undertaking, the conditions there don't satisfy this criteria, please, it is your right. Enjoy it, exercise it. But I would only caution in exercising, don't over-exercise. I know not to over, but know how to go about it. Yeah. There's a way to go about it that you can come to a good resolution.
You know, as they say, not to cut you, but your right ends where another person's begins.
Yes.
So, as an employee, your right is ending where the employers also begin. So, there should be always that
moderation and dialogue should be encouraged. Yes.
Exactly.
B, it says it is your right to receive equal pay for equal work of value without distinction of any kind. I think this is self-explanatory.
Can you re-elaborate that?
It is your right to receive equal pay for equal work of value without distinction of any kind.
So now this is talking about, can this be seen to be comparing two workers that are working within the same environment, that do the same task or have the same job description, and then saying that it is my right to receive the pay that's equal to her? Or we just want you to break it down.
Yes, so when it talks about equal pay for equal work, let's say the employer, the main focus of this is discrimination. You don't, like, let's say you and Godwin are doing the same work. Yeah. Your contract is same, your everything is same. But because, let's say, Godwin is from, or you have an affiliation with Godwin whatsoever, you are paying Godwin more than you are paying another person. That is clearly discrimination. Both of them are doing the same thing. Both of them are doing the same work. The law says that no. When you are paying people who are doing the same work and all of that, you don't discriminate. You should pay them same value as they are working or what they are valued.
But to add a little to that, that is not to say the fact that you've met me and we are doing the same work, I've been here for 10 years, it means automatically we should take the same pay. Yeah. Maybe based off on the organization structure, every year there's an increment. So if I've been here for 10 years and based off on the increment, I'm now taking 1,000 cedis. Doesn't mean when you come, automatically you should be pegged at my 1,000 cedis. You should start from where the basic start is, and then as time goes on, as it progresses, you get to where you need to get to.
That's very interesting there. But just thinking about it out of the vacuum, just because you're talking about this, there should be equal pay for equal work
of value.
So let's say if I have come in, we are both bricklayers. If I have come in as a bricklayer, but then we are laying bricks all the same. You have 10 years of experience, but you ended school in GHS. And I have come in with my degree to come and then lay bricks. Does the equal pay for equal work come in here?
So the equal pay for equal work is held, all other things being equal. You have a degree, I have a degree, we sign the same contract and all of that. So the main focus with the equal pay is actually with discrimination, right? If we are doing the same thing and we are like, we came the same contract and all of that, you pay me just as you pay. But like, let's say, as you said, if you have like a JSS certificate and somebody has a degree, like you guys are not equal in terms of qualification. So you don't expect or assume to collect equal pay because you are doing the same.
But then again also, the fact that I have degree doesn't mean because of I'm not being paid on my degree. I'm being paid on the work I'm going to do. So you would realize that in most organizations, whether it is SS or the starting pay for this job is 500 cedis. I'm giving an example. And SS can apply, university can apply. The starting pay is 500. If you come, the condition there is 500 regardless of your qualification. So it is not after you've entered and now you come and say, me would degree, that the law doesn't...
The conditions were stated.
Clearly. So once we are all signing on to it, your qualification and things aside, we go by what that is the equal work for equal work of value.
Okay. The messages are still true.
Okay, then let me finish.
Finish this one and then we'll answer the few messages.
So it says that, C, it says, it is your right to have rest, leisure and reasonable limitation of working hours and period of holidays with pay as well as remuneration for public holidays. It is your right to form or join a trade union. It is your right to be trained and retrained for the development of your skills. And it is your right to also receive information relevant to your work.
So these are all rights pertaining to the worker. This is found in
the Labour Act Section 10.
So under Section 10 of Act 651.
Yes. Okay. It is under the grand topic of protection of employment. Okay. So it is a way of protecting employers and employees. It has that of employers as well. But this, what I read, was for employees. So that is your level of protection backed by the law.
Okay. So there you have it. Please make sure that you go to Section 10 of Act 651. Every worker should have these at their fingertips so that you cannot be pushed around in and around your workplace. We'll go back to some of the messages. This one is coming from HM Joe. HM Joe says, interesting, insightful and pertinent discussion you people are holding on labor. Kudos. Please, I have some few questions. That's what he says. Is there any carry forward leave in the labor law or it's subjected to the institution? 2, with the compassionate leave, maternity and sick leave, are there definite or stipulated length of days for it? And how many times can one go for it in a year? Thank you. I think we've tackled this. How many times can one go in a year? Something we've not tackled.
I wanted to find out how many times you can give birth in a year.
But compassionate leave, if let's say I lost, someone loses the mother, and then following after burial, the same year the person loses the brother. Then in the same year the person loses the
law doesn't stipulate the number of times, but you can cash in on it at any point in time once it deems the criteria necessary for compassionate leave to be effected.
And to add up, these are natural phenomena. So you cannot actually say that, it is, you have to enjoy compassionate leave for 2 times or 3 times in a year. As humans as we are, there are things that happen that are so unpredicted. So, like as he said, we don't have limitations to that. But make sure you don't abuse it.
Yeah, make sure you don't abuse it.
Because
of leave, someone will go and kill their father. Anyway, that's just by the way. This one is also coming. I want us to tackle as many questions that we can have. If you're just tuning in, we are talking about understanding the Ghana labor law, what every worker should know. That is what we are discussing today. And keep your questions or your messages coming in. 0500500421 is the number that you can call us on WhatsApp. You can text us on WhatsApp shortly. I'm sure we'll be opening the phone lines soon, and then you'll be able to drop in your questions, or you'll be able to call in to ask your questions verbatim. This one is coming from Amai Jiwa from Hachu. A lot of people start working without a written contract. What should a worker do if the employer refuses to give them one? And she says, my second question is also that many workers say that they are forced to work overtime without pay. What does the law actually say about overtime?
The first question is, what was her first question?
What do you do when the employer...
So the first question says that a lot of people start working without a written contract. What should a worker do if the employer refuses to give them one?
So just as he read the rights of the employee, it is also the law states the duties of what the employers are supposed to do. And one of the duties of the employers in the Labour Act is to furnish your employees a written contract.
A written?
Yes, written contract. So once it's your employer is not giving you that, it's against the law. And her second question was, what was her second question?
How many workers say that they are forced to work overtime without pay?
That's the breach of the law. There's no discussion around it. Once you are working overtime, you are supposed to be paid. And even in your contract, there should be a rate of payment and all of that. So once you are not working overtime, that's a breach of the law, and it's unlawful.
I'm sure many employers watching us will be coming for us after this particular show, because what you are revealing as the rights of workers, it's really enlightening. It empowers people to know that we are entitled to this as someone who works in an organization.
I wanted to read a supporting statement to what he said. Section 9 which talks about the duties of the employer. Section 9F. It says, without prejudice to the provisions of this act and any other enactments for the time being in force, any contract of employment or collective agreement, the duties of an employer include the duty to F, furnish the worker with a copy of the worker's contract of employment. So once you violate this, you are in breach of the law. And I would only encourage you, don't be afraid. Don't think you'll be victimized. Visit any labor office and lodge this complaint. We would visit your institution anonymously and then make sure that the right things are done. Again, if you come to Section 35, I think it's a good thing I brought the law today. Section 35, it says that 35(2), a worker in any such undertaking may not be required to do overtime work unless that undertaking has fixed rates of pay for overtime work. So if your institution or your undertaking doesn't have fixed rates of pay for overtime work and they are forcing you, please and please again, visit the nearest labor office wherever you are and lodge this complaint. We will handle it for you.
Someone is asking a question about CBA, but because we've not talked about it, or we'll not go there yet. But there's another question. It says this is a discussion all media houses must look at. Very interesting. Good morning to everyone. Nana, for someone who wants to report a case to the National Labour Commission, what exact information must they bring along to make the process smooth? This is coming from Mrs. Boafo in Amedome in the Volta region.
They just need to write a letter addressed to the executive secretary stating the issue. You just need to state it and then forward it. They would handle the rest. And leave your contact number or how we can easily reach you. It will surprise you to know that people who lodge complaints, they write numbers that even when you call for a follow-up, it doesn't go through. So we are pleading. If you want to lodge a complaint, make sure that the means to reach you is clear and we can easily reach you.
So that is a complaint to be lodged to the Labour Commission. So, mind you, if I want to lodge a complaint to the Labour Department, that's also different.
It's the same.
It's the same.
You only address it to the Chief Labour Officer. The head of the Labour Department is the Chief Labour Officer. And the head of the Labour Commission is the Executive Secretary.
So that means that if I'm lodging a complaint to the Labour Commission, I'm expecting that there will be a tripartite meeting. Or
yes.
But if I'm lodging a complaint to the Labour Department, I'm expecting that maybe it could be just between the two parties.
Yes. Depending on the nature of the issue, it will determine how best we should approach it. If it warrants that we call all parties, we will do that. If it warrants that we shield one party to do this, we will do that. So based off on the issue, it's not categorical as though this is tripartite, this is this, but depending on the issue or the gravity of it, we will determine the best approach to use.
All right. So I'm sure Judith Osei Mpokwase is also saying that interesting discussion. Can I get Labour Department's number? I'm sure you give it to them before the program actually ends. Our phone lines are now open. You can call us to join in the conversation. 050-050-0423. 050-050-0423 is the number that you should call to join in this particular conversation, and then we'll be able to answer any questions that you have. You'll be able to pour out your hearts to these senior labor officers who have dedicated their lives to make sure that fairness in the workplace is thriving. Now, let's go on a little bit. I'm sure we may even have to have a part 3 of this because we've not exhausted what we have to do. Now, we talked about duties and rights. You've actually read them through and through. And on the termination and dismissal, this one is also saying what compensation or redress is available when termination is proven to be unfair.
So I think I mentioned that if it's proven to be unfair, what happens is the commission would instruct or direct your employer to reinstate you. There is that. Or based off on how the settlement went, if both parties feel they can't agree or they can't work together, you just separate, but with a compensation that is determined by the commission. But the address is to reinstate. But if it so happens that the relationship has gone beyond repair, then you separate with some sort of compensation.
Interesting one. Mr. McGeorge, let me come to you on the duties and rights. We've talked about the duties of the employee. We've talked about the rights of the employee. We've talked about the duties of the employer. We've talked about the employer. We've talked about the rights of the employee. So now let's talk about the duties of the employee under the Labour Act.
Okay. Let me read so that he would explain. Yes. So duties of the employee or a worker. It says 1, work consciously in the fully chosen occupation.
Consciously.
Consensuously. Let me read all and then you will summarize.
Okay, yes.
2.
I like this.
You are to report, you as a worker, you are to report for work regularly and punctually. Regularly and punctually.
Employers must be smiling here.
You as a worker, you are to enhance productivity. Enhance productivity. You are to exercise due care in the execution of assigned work. It is your duty as a worker to exercise due care in the execution of assigned work. It is your duty to obey lawful instructions regarding the organization and execution of your work. It is your duty to take reasonable care for safety and health of fellow workers. It is your duty to protect the interest of the employer. And it is your duty to take proper care of the property of the employer entrusted to you, the worker, under the immediate control of the worker.
So these duties are pretty self-explanatory because, like, as a worker, you also have to seek the interest of the employer. You don't go to work and work anyhow and expect to be paid and expect things to go well. Once you go to work, you should be going to work regularly. You should be punctual at work. You should work with, you should be conscientious when you are working. You should be focused. All of these things enhances productivity. And the long term is that your duties should make the employer happy employing you. You understand? You can't go to work and not care about the properties of the employer. You can't go to work and not care about the interest of the employer. You just come and sit there and you are not productive and all of that. The law doesn't agree or doesn't condone such things.
Okay. So conversely, we've talked about the duties of the employer, and then we've also talked about the responsibility of the employer. So now we've also talked about the basic rights that every worker should know. So I think we've exhausted quite a lot of the questions that are coming in over here. This one is also coming. There are a lot of questions that I want us to continue from the questions coming on. This one's an interesting discussion going on. I'm really learning a lot. What I want to understand here is, before going ahead to report a complaint, what peaceful steps can I take as a worker when I have a disagreement with my employer?
So, I don't know the nature of the work. If it is such that there is an HR or there is an administrator, you can verbally inform the person. That is maybe for the first time, you can verbally address the issue. If it so happens that it wasn't resolved and it happens or it occurs again, you can put it in writing formally to the employer or the HR or whoever is administering over the place. And if all those then again, if there's the presence of a union, you'd channel it through the union as well. But if all these processes are exhausted and still no resolution has been made, then you can bring it. But if it so happens also that all these structures are not there, you can directly just walk to us and then we would handle it for you.
All right. So just to add up, we would also encourage employers to have channels of which grievances can be redressed, because most employers, they don't have such things. That is when you see employees escalating the issues to the authorities, the labor department and the commissions and all of that. But once there are proper channels through which grievances can be redressed, the employees are encouraged to exhaust all those means before taking it out of the.
And if I may,
please may.
So the Schedule 1 of the Labor Act, it gives a template, the barest minimum of how a contract of employment should look like under the Schedule 1. Schedule 1, 11. Let me read 11. It says, the disciplinary rules applicable to you are. This is how, in your written statements of contract of employment, it should include the disciplinary rules in your organization. It should also 12. It says the procedure for dealing with any grievance or dispute is. So as part of the contract of employment that employers are preparing or should prepare, they should clearly state some of these things in there so that when an issue arises, we just activate it. And it won't be as if there is a blanket or there's nothing that addresses it in any way. This is the barest minimum. So at least employers should have this in their contract or office, and then employees should also make sure that some of these things are stated therein.
And this is coming from the Labor Act
651.
651, Schedule 1.
Schedule 1,
okay.
Yes.
Quite a lot of messages coming in here. This one says that interesting discussion going on. I'm really learning a lot. Blessing is saying that how can a worker know if their employer is actually paying their SNET?
I think it's mandated on you as the employee or the worker. You can visit the SNET offices anywhere and wherever you are, and then make a request to see your SNET statements. If they print it out for you, you would know whether they are being paid or they are not being paid. So it's incumbent on you yourself to walk to any SNET office. Please don't wait till 60 years or 59, 3 months before you visit the SNET office. Periodically, visit any SNET office and ensure that your SNET payments are being made. It will surprise you to know that sometimes there are infractions or there are certain gaps in the SNET payments. So it will be prudent that you address them early and immediate than to wait till when you are 60 years and maybe you work with an organization. The organization has collapsed over 10, 15 years ago. SNET can't find them. They didn't pay your SNET. SNET can't find them. Now that you are 60, SNET can't find them to charge them to pay you. So just do the needful whilst in employment.
All right, so this is an imploration that we are imploring you that go and check your SNET. Don't wait till you're about to retire before you actually seek the interest of your SNET. Not only SNET, go and check your mandatory Tier 2 occupational pension scheme. Make sure that you look for your corporate trustees and check whether they are indeed paying your Tier 2, whether they are indeed paying your SNET. Otherwise, when you retire, it's quite miserable. Just as you're saying. But then this one is coming from Kelvin from La Paz. Good morning, sir. Please, I would like to know, as an employee and a union representative for a branch of a company, what is my right after I contributed on a union platform in a well-being of workers of the union chairman? And the union chairman forwarded my contribution to the HR for disciplinary action to be taken against me. This is coming from Kelvin from La Paz. I'm sure he doesn't want to show his actual name, so he said this so that he went on the union platform and then went to give out his grievances. The HR was sitting there, probably took a video of it, and then has forwarded it to HR, and then now he's being threatened with disciplinary action, or maybe he's facing the disciplinary action from HR. How then do we go?
So, this? if you look at sorry, today I'm using the book, but I just want us to be explicitly clear on what we are to do and what we are not to do. But under unfair termination. An employment of a worker should not be unfairly terminated. A worker's employment is terminated unfairly if the only reason for termination is that one, the worker has joined, intends to join, or has ceased to be a member of a trade union, or intends to take part in activities of a trade union. So in your activism as a union member, if it is established that it was because of this that your employer wants to take punitive actions against you, it can be considered unfair, and you can take your employer on. So that's he shouldn't be afraid if it is determined that indeed he was sacked or he was let go because of his union activities.
So right now he's facing disciplinary actions. Yes.
And it is illegal, actually.
It is illegal.
Yes, it is illegal for you to, just as it said, you are doing union activities and your employer is taking punitive actions against you. That is not done. So he has the right to take this forward.
I would want to ask, is he having an issue with his union chairman? Because I won't understand. We are collectively seeking the best interest of the people. So maybe the underlying issues, but in the absence of that,
it's illegal.
But these are some of the real issues that people actually face and go through. Because today, when we just opened the platform for questions, and then the phone lines are also open, 0500500423. You can call in. I saw that some people called, but then the lines were dropped. But you can still call in. The lines are being jumped, but keep calling, and then you'll be able to get through to us. But these are some of the real issues that people face. So whenever we talk about labor and we talk about issues regarding employment, that is where usually we have a lot of questions coming through. This particular person, if I should show you the messages, has sent 4 different messages because these are things that are on the hearts of people that they want to bring out. And I really want to appreciate you, you two especially, because time and time again when we call you, you are ever present to help and answer some of these questions. This one says that I'm Joshua. I have a few questions to ask. What are the laws regarding equal pay for equal work? I think we've tackled that. How do I protect my intellectual property rights as an employee? What are the rules regarding employee data protection and confidentiality? And then can I negotiate my employment contracts? And if so, what terms can I negotiate?
Okay, so let's take it one after the other.
Yes, so we are not taking the first one because we actually answered it. How do I protect my intellectual property rights as an employee?
I think there's an intellectual property law.
Yes.
So I think it governs.
That governs.
Yes. So that would be the best way to go about it.
So and then employee data protection and confidentiality, that also goes with the Data Protection Act. So there are the principles of data protection that are there. I'm sure maybe if you can actually text us after the program, we can take you through that.
I would also want to find out the intellectual property. Is it that me as the employer I've trained and retrained you as I'm supposed to do, and now you say it is your intellectual property, or it is personal studies that I'm employing or that I'm using that is considered intellectual property? If you can give that distinction, maybe.
So Joshua, if you're hearing us, you can actually give us.
Me as an employer, I train and retrain you, and now you say it is your intellectual property. I would be a bit baffled.
And then finally, he says that, can I negotiate my employment contract? And if so, what terms can I negotiate? I'm sure you can pretty much negotiate every term of your employment contract. So that is it with Joshua. 5 messages coming from this particular person. This one says that, thank you, Joe. HM Joe says, thank you, guys. But please, my first question on carry forward leave wasn't answered. What should be done if a worker is mostly sick and is the only person assigned performing his or her role? Now, the first question that HMJ sent was, is there any carry forward leave in the labor law or is subjected to the institution?
So I explained this from the earlier conversation that leaves are not carry forward. However, the law, the law it's not emphatic on accrued leave or carry forward leaves. However, it all boils down to the internal agreement between your employer. So at seasons or peak periods where your employer needs you to work and you cannot go on leave, he can actually defer leave to another time for you. So it's more or less like an internal thing. However, you are entitled to the leave. So it boils down to the internal agreement between you, the employee, and the employer.
Okay, so HMG, I'm sure you've been satisfied with that particular answer. This one says that when an employer refuses to hire someone because of disability, what steps can the person take to challenge that discrimination?
When the employer refuses to
employ someone because of disability, or maybe
it is not encouraged. However, there is the right of the employer to employ whoever he or she wants to employ. However, there are incentives that are given to employers who employ people living with disabilities. But it's not incumbent. The law doesn't say that you as an employer, you need to employ this type of person. If you don't employ them, we can take punitive actions or you are in breach of the law. No, there's nothing like that. However, we can just encourage, or the law encourages employers to employ people living with disabilities.
All right. So I'm sure we'll take a few messages and we'll continue. This one says, good morning, everyone. Please ask this for me. If workers are unsure whether they belong to an essential service, where they can practically verify this before planning any strike action? This is coming from Mr. Ernest Opoku in Sunyani. If workers are unsure whether they belong to an essential service or a union, where can they practically verify this before planning any strike action?
So I think essential services are services that, in the absence of loss, there can be loss of life, or there can be any damage to somebody or to the nation or to anything. So if he checks his operations, does it qualify to be an essential service? So on top of my head, I would say the health service is an essential service. I think utilities, the water and the electricity, they are also considered essential service. I think the security as well are also part of. So if your operations is within this domain, you qualify to be an essential service.
Okay, nice one. This one is coming from Mr. Emmanuel Afum. He says, interesting discussion. Emmanuel Afum is my name, from Aketia, and an executive of the Ghana Deaf Association. To my question, if an employee with disability needs reasonable accommodation like adjusted working hours or tools, how can they formally request that under Ghana's labor rules?
So this won't form under the labor rules, but they will form under the internal procedures and processes of the institution or organization. So based off on the operations, if you believe or if you think there's a need to have certain measures or certain concessions between you, the employer, or you, the employee, and the worker, you can reach into an agreement with them. That is why we always say that dialogue in the workspace is very essential. How you can negotiate or how you can dialogue certain challenges you are facing to your employer, and also understand from the standpoint of the employer that he is facing these challenges. This cost is going to come to him. So is he ready for it, or can he contain it? Then you reach a consensus, and then you find the best way forward.
All right, this one says, thank you, Koko Digest, for this discussion. I've worked with an organization where I was almost not employed because of my cultural background. So I want to ask, is it legal for an employer to refuse to hire someone because of their tribal background? Since you said an employer can employ anybody that he wants.
So if you say the employer refuses to hire you, that means you are not in employment yet. There's no employment contract. And once again, all of these things, the employer has the right to employ whoever he or she wants to employ. However, we encourage employers or people not to discriminate based on race, religion, and cultural background. Everybody should be given a free and fair environment to work or to be employed. So it's not like the employer there's nothing in the law that says that employer should employ people from this race, people not from this race, and all of that. He has the sole right, relies on him to employ whoever he wants to. So we only encourage that employers should focus more on competence, who can do the work, other than looking at like racial backgrounds or cultural backgrounds and all of that.
This one is also, I think we'll take this last one and then we'll move on. She says, thank you very much. Please, Nana, ask your labor officers, they are senior labor officers. Nana, please ask your senior labor officers if contract or part-time workers have SNIT rights too. Contract or part-time workers.
Yes. SNIT is once you are paying, once you are working, your SNIT needs to be paid. And that jurisdiction falls with the SNIT. So SNIT also have inspectors that go around to check their SNIT contribution of workers and all of that. So once you are in any form of employment, your employer should be able to pay your SNIT for you.
This one is really important because it says, hi, good morning. Please, I want to hide my name. Please, how many hours are you to work in a week? Because we work 48 hours in a week, but they mark us only 40 hours.
Okay. So, let me take a previous issue and come back to the working hours. So, under Section 127, I think La Paz, the statement from La Paz, Section 127 talks about discrimination. It says a person who discriminates against any person with respect to the employment or conditions of employment because that other person is a member or an officer of a trade union is guilty of unfair labor practice.
So the chairman has to be looked at.
Unfair labor practice. So he can take them on under that section. And now to the hours of work. The law under Section 33, I read.
The hours, call you the law.
The hours of work of a worker shall be a maximum of 8 hours a day or 40 hours a week, except in cases expressly provided for in this act. So the law is clear: 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. If there is any violation and you know anything outside or beyond this period should be considered as overtime. So if it is not being considered as that, he should just make an anonymous complaint and we will take it on.
All right. So please, if you are watching us, you can just make sure that you make an anonymous complaint and then they will take them on, because once you've worked, they cannot mark you less than that particular number of hours that you have. This one says that I think we've answered these ones already. So please, I'm sure those of you who tried calling in, we experienced a few technical glitches with our phone lines, so apologies for that. But then you can keep your messages coming in. We'll forward them to the senior labor officers here, and then they'll answer them, and then we'll forward them back to you. I'm sure before leaving, they'll leave some phone lines that you can actually call and then reach them directly, and then they'll be able to answer whatever questions that you have. We have to go in a bit, but let's just look at, there's this one. Someone asked about CBA, collective bargaining agreements, and how it does function in the Ghanaian workplace. Can you just enlighten us a little bit, or it's not within your jurisdiction?
Okay. It is.
Okay, yes.
So the CBA, which is the collective bargaining agreement, is an agreement between an employer and a union or an the workers. So, how do I put it? It is an agreement that stipulates the rights and obligations of both parties. I want to take it one after the other. So, to have a collective bargaining agreement, you should have a collective bargaining certificate. And the collective bargaining certificate is issued by the chief labor officer. So, as workers in your establishment, you need, if you come together as a union to advocate for your rights, you need to write to the chief labor officer and you'll be duly registered or recognized. Then you can advocate for the people you are covering. And once you advocate and you reach an agreement, it is considered the collective bargaining agreement. Yes, okay. So you need a certificate to get an agreement. So it's basically just the agreement between those two parties.
Okay. So how does the National Labour Commission handle issues between employers and employees? I'm sure we've actually talked about that because of time. Now, okay, just as a follow-up to the last question that we asked, the person that wanted to hide the name says that, yes, we work 8 hours a day and 48 hours a week. And they told us one day will be marked as overtime, and then they pay it, and then they pay for only 3 months when we started the 8 hours.
Come again with that.
Yes, we work 8 hours a day.
Yes.
And 48 hours a week.
So that means they work 6 days in a week.
6 days in a week. And they told us that one day will be marked as overtime.
Okay.
Just one day.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe out of they'll pay for 40 days, and then they'll mark the extra 8 as overtime.
Overtime, yeah.
And they pay for only 3 months when we started the 8 hours.
So they've paid so far they've worked for a while, but so far the overtime they've only paid for 3 months.
I'm sure. So this particular one person sending us a message, we will. He's confirmed that it's 6 days a week. So we'll give your numbers out, and then we'll be able to contact you because so our time is really fast spent, and I would like to take your few words. Maybe you leave the numbers that we can contact you in. Maybe we'll be here for a part 3, who knows? But then let's just have your final words because our time is fast spent.
Oh, okay. So we would encourage every worker and every employer to fall on the labor laws, because there are things in the laws that guides our employment and how we should work. So I would entreat that it is not only for employees. You employers too are, like, the onus falls on you to also check with the law and see, and let's all do the right thing so we can have a peaceful working environment.
All right, Mr. Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. Godwin Cancer.
Yes, I would say that employees or workers, we need to take charge of our future. We need to make sure that we shouldn't give the chance for people to exploit us. Let us know our rights and ensure that the right things are done. And I would want to conclude with a big thank you to the Chief Labour Officer, Mr. Dauda Ibrahim Brahma, who has given us this opportunity to be here and share with your viewers.
All right, we promise that you are going to give out the phone lines that they can actually reach you on. So please, if you may, if you want to contact these chief or senior labor officers, I should say, the numbers to call are
020-914-0825. I repeat, 020-914-0825.
Or you can actually call in or send a WhatsApp message on our Clock TV lines, and then we'll be able to forward whatever discussion or whatever conversation you want to have with them. The number is displayed on your screen there, 0500500421. So I'd want to say a very big thank you to you, Mr. Godwin Kwanzaa, and then to you, Mr. McGeorge Mensah. Thank you very much for coming, and then thank you very much for enlightening us. I'm sure definitely we'll be here once again to exhaust the rest of this inexhaustible discussion that we've been having. Viewers, it's been a very good time on the Koko Digest Morning Show. Today, we talked about the law and what every Ghanaian worker must know. We've dived extensively. This is the second part that we did. Initially, we talked about what labor is. Today, we've come to talk about dismissals. We've come to talk about the redress that you can seek. We've come to talk about the rights and the rights of responsibilities to employers and employees. It's been an all-enriching discussion and kind courtesy by guests from the Labour Department, Mr. McGeorge Kofi Mensah and then Mr. Godwin Kwanzaa. And thank you very much for being with us through it all. My name is Nanaya Awasari, and this is how we call it a day on the Koko Digest Morning Show.